Just gonna wait for the stream to build up real quick. Get my bowl. What is going on, guys? It is MadManPlant. We are here on Mad Sundays with MadManPlant. Tonight is our millionaire mindset. And the biggest thing about this is to do anything in life, to do it well, you have to have the millionaire mindset. Whether you have $1,000,000 or not, that's not the point. The idea is you're improving yourself. You're putting yourself on that higher level to achieve those goals and really figure out what it is you want and how you're going to better serve your community and grow as a person. And tonight I have a panelist from small to large size companies with a different variety of backgrounds. One of them is my mentor and a good friend of mine who I learn a lot from. But my biggest thing with the community right now is I want to empower you guys. I want you guys to reach for more. Sometimes in life, even before MadManPlant, before Good Luck Stuff Productions, I wasn't challenged either. And when you find something that you're passionate about, that drives you, that moves you, that movement can take you places you never thought were possible. And one of those places are like our 15-state, 12-month road show and being able to connect, be on the ground, shake hands, and really connect. So tonight we have a bunch of different topics. These people that I chose, I'm going to have more people, but the first group of people are people in the community that really represent the community and their values. So I want to bring up David first. David's going to share his story, or Espo is going to share his story about his time in federal prison to creating a multi-million-dollar business, all through cannabis, all dealing with cannabis in the past. So Espo, welcome to the stage.
Hello, hello.
We are good friends and chess buddies, and somebody that I spent quite a bit of time with, and you definitely have taught me a lot. I'd love to share your story, and your story is so great, mainly because it's really a story of triumph, like the phoenix, crashing into the ground, burning from the ashes, coming to the top. And I'd like you to share, a little bit about your background, from your time in federal prison with marijuana to, where you are now and how you developed that millionaire mindset.
Yeah, so a lot of it was definitely forged in the struggle. Struggle is your friend. It's your best friend in the game of life. For me, anyways, I've had the ups and the downs, and every single down. Uh, at the time, I didn't realize why I was going through it, but later on in life, realized, wow, without that failure, it would never have been the success. And federal prison was one of those things. I was, I jumped, I started early. I rebelled early. I moved out at 14. Um, when I say moved out, I moved out of my parents' house at 14. I was living, on the streets. At that time, I'd already started dabbling in sales of marijuana and was pretty. I was pretty good at it. I accelerated pretty quickly. At 15, I started going full time. Started moving a little bit more. By 18, I had a 20-man crew. Was doing numbers. Made my first million on the street by 21, and but it wasn't without consequence. But there was a lot of lessons learned on the street. So, I learned how to become a monster, a bona fide monster. And that same attitude has helped me in business, because it's not easy. Business is not easy at all. It's the full contact sport. A day one guy with no experience has to come and try to take what's mine. With all the experience now, it's like very difficult. So, you've got to have that I'm never going to quit attitude and a competitive attitude in sports. In business, and whether you get it from sports or you get it from the streets, you got to be able to harness that, in my opinion, to have a competitive advantage in some capacity. So, yeah, I did. We started doing some things. I got out, on my own. I started realizing that the streets wasn't really, it wasn't a long term game plan. There's no retirement. Really. And so, I got out and started a business, and About 5 years after I'd gotten out, I got a federal indictment, and I got pulled back in. Ended up doing 8.5 years in a federal penitentiary for marijuana I had sold in the '90s. And while I was in there, I kind of got bitter. I was a little bitter. I was torn because I'd stopped on my own. They didn't get a single seed, a single anything, just a testimony. And you know, again, I couldn't understand why that was happening to me because I chose to make a change in my life and be positive. And I started a roofing company, and we were doing well, and we're about to get our first government contract. And things were looking up, and I catch this federal indictment. But no one lied, right? At first, I was bitter, but I had to take responsibility. And when I was in federal prison, I kind of realized that. At first, I was like, man, this is some bullshit. Snitches get stitches. I'm gonna kill this dude. Like, I was pissed. I was bitter, but I used that time in federal prison to kind of change my mindset. And the last couple of years, I started getting with a real estate guy that started teaching me real estate while I was in there. And he was in there for real estate. And I was like, yo, Mr. Hart, teach me the right way. And he did. I had to beg him, but he did. And we started playing chess every day. And he taught me real estate. And when I came home, when I came home the first time, I was a little, I was still wanted to play in the game, and I wasn't convinced, and so I was hard headed, and wasn't very satisfied with life at the time, and it was a different another learning lesson. I had to go through that learning lesson again to make a hard change to understand, like, hey man, if you're going to do this, you got to give it your all. This, you can't half-ass this. No one's going to allow you to win at a high level if you're going to half-ass it. So I made a full-on pivot, came home, started doing real estate, bought my first house in Baltimore. Well, that was one thing. I came home, and I intentionally didn't come home to my environment. I moved about, I was from Hampton, Virginia. I didn't want to get released there, so I got released in Baltimore. Um, and that environment, that change of environment was huge. I wasn't a strong enough man at the time to tell the same streets where I would have had an easy win out there. I wasn't strong enough to say no. So environment change was huge for me. And so I bought my first property in Baltimore. I was there every single day, poured in all my money into it, and absolutely the contractor screwed me in every way possible. So I've never professed to be a handyman in any capacity. And these guys were passing inspections, but they weren't doing the work properly. And so we kind of built a lemon, or they built a lemon, and it was an absolute nightmare. And again, I was like, man, why is this happening to me? Try and do the right thing. Came home from prison. I bought a house. What didn't do it the lazy way. Like, I was there every single day at that property, and I still got screwed all the way over on the property, and ended up having to buy it myself to save uh, uh, the deal per se. But it left a bad, bitter taste in my mouth for real estate. So I pivoted over to software and, well, SEO actually, and found out I was pretty good at that. And we started gaining clients, and we started building up a pretty good SEO and video marketing agency. And so we were guaranteeing page one rankings for any profession that could afford the payment. It wasn't cheap. So a lot of businesses, it didn't make sense for personal injury attorneys and dentists and other higher end niches. We were doing pretty good, and it was working pretty well. But when you're in the ranking business, when you're in the agency space, it's very difficult because every new client is your boss. And so when you're guaranteeing page one rankings, Google makes 420 to 450 algorithm changes a year. And so at some point, it's going to affect you, no matter how good your agency is. And so when that happens, you get the phone calls, and it's a nightmare. So I didn't really like that business, and so we were one day one of my clients came in and said, "Hey, can you get us on page one for We Buy Houses?" And at that time, we had never had a client like that. I didn't even know what that was really about. I'd done fix and flipping. All of a sudden, I was doing was on fix and flipping back, in 2011, 2013. This guy was doing something different though. He was doing wholesaling. And so I was like, I don't know. Let's see. So we got on page one in 3 days, and in 7 days, we got our first deal done. And he cut me a check and said, "Hey, can you get me more leads like this?" And the size of that check, I was like, "Absolutely, yeah, we can make this happen." So within like 30 days, we had like 200 page one rankings for the entire state of Maryland, and we started crushing it. And so that business started picking up. And as we were growing that business, we were hiring people, and it was like we were using 8 to 10 different tools to make this happen. And every time I was trying to bring on a person, it was just a nightmare trying to get all the logins and teach them all the different software. And so I was like, there's got to be a better way. And so we developed it. I found a software that was compatible with the needs that we were looking for. And then we developed the software for our business. And once we did that, we took off and started getting consistently like 10 to 15 deals a month. And everyone around the Baltimore area started taking notice and wanted to use the tool. And so that tool became REI Reply. 5,000 users on it, and yeah, we started taking off, and so there was a point where we had to make a decision: either continue flipping or do the SaaS. Oh well, let me back up. So when COVID hit, every single one of my agency clients fired us like within a 3 day period, and so that kind of made the decision a little bit easier. Pivot into the SaaS and real estate, and so we continued doing that. And eventually, the SaaS started growing so much, we just pivoted completely into the SaaS. And yeah, the entire way, I blaze daily, and a very avid consumer. And did it our way from day one, and here we are. We now help 5,000 plus users with REI Reply. And we have other, about 5 different other software that are profitable, some that are within the vertical. So we vertically integrated. We built some other software to help the community once we understood what their needs were. And then we've pivoted into other niches as well, like solar and creative finance and yeah, AI heavily, as you can tell the shirt.
That's awesome. And and I really like your story too, because one thing you said about prison was you really got to see the monsters. Like you were in there for marijuana possession and a bunch of other charges. And you said that you really got to see like evil essentially. And when you came out on the streets, you just kept hustling. And that's one thing I like about your story, and why I like, you sharing your story, is because it's like you thought it was going to get good, and then it fell on your face. You thought it was going to get good, and then it fell on your face. And that's one of the things that entrepreneurs, people in business, just anybody that has a dream, is you're going to face those setbacks. You're going to think that it's all coming together, like this is it. I had a meeting with a contract person the other day, and I thought I was there to sign a contract, and be due to poor communication, the owner didn't even know that I was coming that day. And the people that set the meeting with me weren't even supposed to be in charge of that department. You know what I mean? So you have these things where it's like you lost all your clients, everybody, fired you. And then it's like, what do you do? And then you get to the point where it's like you said, you make a decision. You can just lay here and die, or you can figure out how to pivot, how to move forward. And today, REI Reply is one of the advanced AI softwares for real estate wholesaling, and is helping millions of entrepreneurs get on their feet with the real estate market. And that's what you help do, is getting people, interested, learning how to make money, learning how to feed their family, and that's one of the biggest things too, is your level of commitment to give back, So I really appreciate you sharing this. What would you say that your biggest takeaway, like if you had to boil down your mindset to like one key thing that kept you going, what would that have been?
Man, I don't like to lose. I'm very competitive. I played ball all my life. It's the same thing on the streets. It's competitive. It's the same thing in this business. It's competitive. I go to masterminds where you got to make a certain amount to get in the room, and believe me, we're all very competitive in that space. We all want the best for each other, but we're all very competitive. So if you're in my niche, I'm on that ass. I mean, I just like that. I'm I'm not going to second place isn't for me, and so um, it just pays differently. You know what I mean? So yeah, you just gotta be willing to not give up. Just never give up and be resourceful. You know, it's difficult. Everyone has their own difficult. We've all been dealt a set of hand, right? And then your choices add to your difficulty or they alleviate some of your difficulty. You know what I mean? Some of my earlier choices added to my difficulty. Now, some of my current choices help alleviate some of the difficulties, but it's always going to be hard. Shit doesn't get easier just because you're making millions. I make millions, but like last year, I got took for over $500,000. But it was all the other times I got screwed before that built me up to that, to where I didn't go jump off a bridge or want to kill a man. You know what I mean? A man lied to me and stole. You know what I mean? Like that's a tough hit, and those don't get easier. You know what I mean? So you gotta be tenacious, not settle for second place, because life is always going to try to put you in second or third place. You got to go out there and take that. You got to get first place, and they treat you different. I promise you. But it's not going to be easy. So never giving up, man. That's what there's a lot of times where I could have given up, and I heard the whispers, I heard the yapping when I was in the basement. Like, yeah, what the hell is he doing? What is he doing? It took me 10 years to facilitate all this. This shit wasn't overnight. We were
Yep.
struggling for years. And I heard loved ones, and they want the best for you. They're not doing it. Wasn't out of anger or spite or anything. They just want the best for us. You know what I mean? And they're not seeing us succeed for so long, and so people they they just start yapping. You just got to put all that shit to the side. You got to have your vision, and you got to know why you're doing this shit. You got to have a why. And a lot of things for me changed when I started changing a lot of things. So, like my music, I changed. I listened to a lot more motivational stuff, business stuff, leadership. Leadership on the streets is very different from leadership in business. Communication in business is key. In the street, communication, shit. You're not telling me no, then we're not having no negotiation. In business, it's all negotiation, baby. You gotta. It's all back and forth. You gotta communicate. You gotta build up a community and have a vision big enough for the biggest players in your community to want to be a part of that, so that you don't look at it like competition. It's the same thing like in the streets. It was what made me very successful. I partnered with, you want to make $1 million? Fantastic. I want to help you make $1 million. Let's do it. And so, even now I have partners that, you know, they all make six figures a month. If they're not making six figures a month, then something's wrong in the partnership. And, you know, um, the more you help people, the more the world is going to help you and bless you and give you what you're looking for. And so that's something that I've definitely taken. I think that if you can have a go giver attitude, it's going to take you a long way. So
That's awesome. No, and I really appreciate that. Washington Post said that the number one thing for entrepreneurs is not money, it's not resource, it's not who you know, it's not just random opportunity. It's grit. It's being able to do the same thing over and over and over until it finally works. And that's one of the things about consistency. I want to bring on the rest of our guests. I want to welcome Bud Trainers and also Master Yoda. Welcome, guys.
How's it going?
So, Bud Trainers is a clip company. They low stress train your plants, and they also came up with their Bud Cups, which is an easy way for you to transplant once you've created your seed or your clone. They're located. You're in Canada, right?
Yes, we are, but
Yep.
we sell worldwide pretty much. Anywhere you can grow weed, you can get us.
Yeah. Give us a quick rundown about your company.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm not the founder of the company per se, but I joined on about a year into Bud Trainer's creation. And we actually had started off with three products. So we had fabric pots with grommets on them, pretty standard garden ties, which we changed to yellow to match our branding. And then our most popular product is the bud clips, which you mentioned already. So my CEO went to great lengths when it became legal to grow here in Canada to figure out how to grow. Struggled with a bunch of bro science and stuff like that. Ended up going all the way to Niagara College to learn how to grow at a commercial scale. And then that was kind of around 2020 when, in Canada at least, the market was so saturated that prices were coming down. LPs, which he wanted to work for, were starting to fire people. So there were a lot of other professionals that were out of a job, so not much room for new graduates. So he actually started off by creating Bud Trainer instead as a side project. Things went really well, and he had met me back in university when I was actually selling him some weed. And I guess he remembered my sales skills and wanted to bring me on to help with that kind of stuff. And here we are.
Fantastic. And then we also have Master Yoda.
What's going on, guys? How are you all doing?
Fantastic.
Doing
Excellent.
very well.
So, I guess I should probably do the whole elevator speech thing, huh? So I've been in business for over 20 years in the pet care industry, and we specialize in basically pet care in clients' homes, and we probably have one of the larger companies in the States. I've got about 8 or 9 employees and an office manager that kind of does the day-to-day operations. So that's kind of what we do in a nutshell. And yeah, so that's what we do. We've been doing this for about 20 years, and it was really cool listening to Enzo. I'm sorry, Espo, talking, because a lot of things that he says just make so much sense, and it really is so much about the mindset. It was so exciting to hear him talk about that. I've been working with some coaches, and we've all been talking about mindset lately, and it really is so true that you do really kind of just have to be responsible for creating your own reality, certainly in business, and that'll kind of send you down the path that you want to go down.
Let's bring this on here. I think, Espo, are you still on here? It says he's still backstage. So I'm bringing us into the panel now. And this is an open discussion that everybody can join in. And we're going to go through about 5 different topics. And this is, like I said, it's just general conversation. But I really appreciate you saying that, Master Yoda, because Espo is somebody that I really look up to, and somebody that I've learned a lot from in a very short amount of time. And when they say your network is your net worth, it is very, very true, because the level of community that you have and what they're actually doing for themselves helps you. It's kind of that thing where it's like that saying that's, if you help me, I'll help you. And it's really like on Instagram where I heard this is, I'll help me and you help you, and we can help each other. Because it's just like I'm being on the airplane with the oxygen mask. If you don't take care of yourself first, how could you ever provide a service or a product or an idea to somebody else if you can't even control what's around you? So the first topics that we're going to be talking about entrepreneurial branding and product development, developing, a canine service, with 8 employees, with the bud trainers, with REI Reply, let's talk about like steps from concept to market. How do we get the confidence to take what we have and say, you know what, I think somebody could value from this and somebody's going to use this. So whoever wants to jump in first, I'm going to hit this real quick.
Sure, I can jump in here. We just actually went through something pretty relevant to that with releasing this new product in the bud cups, and it's interesting because we had made a transition from kind of a startup to now we have this brand that we don't want to diminish by starting with a 3D printed product, because we originally had 3D printed clips, went to an injection mold, really focused a lot on our packaging and our presentation and building a community around training and all that stuff. And, those molds are very expensive, right? So if you go ahead and order one and you need to make a change later on, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars. Say you order it and the product actually isn't welcomed by the market. I mean, it's a big investment. So it takes a little bit of just being risk adverse and taking a chance on it. And we also, strategically did pre-sales as well. So I think taking things step by step, when you're thinking up a new product, it's like, don't think about something that you necessarily think would be great and everybody's going to want. You have to kind of test out your customers at the same time. So we had a small test group with prototypes, and then the initial design that H had is very different from what we'll be delivering next week. So just taking things step by step and not trying to force something into the market, but rather working backwards from finding a flaw in what's out there already.
I definitely agree. It's cool, and that's why I love you being on here, and I'm so thankful that you said yes, because back, a year ago, we were doing in the 3D printing business. We did 3D printed clips, same thing. So in a way, we used to be competitors, but that's the idea of that community. And just like Espo was saying, partnerships, strategic partnerships. We're in the same space, but now I'm promoting your products and I'm working with you. And really helping you grow and tell people about your stuff, and it's a valuable thing, because the idea is, with the marketing concept, if we come together, your next idea could be a lot of what the community already needs, because you heard it from the community. When we're so closed off, especially about bringing something to market, it's like we need that collaboration. And I think the biggest thing is you have to get out of yourself. You have to get out of your ego. And you have to kind of a little bit be humble, be vulnerable, and let it play out. Sometimes just like Espo, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But it's more like, how much more are you hurting yourself by not getting out to market, by not developing your concept, in the meantime.
Yeah, I think it's so important to have people around you, kind of like you guys alluded to just keep you accountable, even not necessarily that they're going to be doing something that benefits your business, but just people closer to you that can call you out when you're not actually working as hard. Like, I had a few startups that just didn't pan out, and I'd sit by myself, in front of my computer making this big grand idea, and then I just never executed. But it was always like, oh, I'm going to go play video games now because I had this great idea, and I'll get to that later. But you never actually, force yourself to do that. And if you had a friend or even a coach that you're paying for, they're gonna be like, what the heck are you doing, man? Like, you got to get these wheels in motion.
True. Sometimes you got to take your own responsibility for that, though. And it's not just necessarily work associates. It also, you have to kind of take that into a personal level too, and who you're choosing to be friends with and the quality of people that you choose to be friends with. Because if you're hanging out with a bunch of people and they just want to, go and, get stoned and sit on the couch and, watch Netflix and play video games, well, that's not going to be good for bud trainers, so you want to hang out with like-minded people that want to excel and want to better themselves. Otherwise, you're just going to kind of stay the same. So, you can, I mean, obviously you want to have business associates that you're looking up to too, but you want to have, you know, people that you're friendly with, that you're associating on a regular basis, that you're going to keep you motivated and keep you wanting to push yourself, you know.
Very
So,
true. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people don't understand how much you have to immerse yourself into business if you're going to be an entrepreneur. It's not something that you can just focus on 9 to 5, right? Like you have to kind of align your entertainment and your social life with things that actually still move you forward, right? Like if you're going to
right.
go out for dinner, you know, do you go out with your buddies who just want to smoke weed and talk about sports once in a while?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But maybe you can go grab, you know, a beer with Madman over here and then, you know, talk shop while you're also enjoying a nice night out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now,
A couple things.
what about Espo?
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, so I think first you gotta identify who you are. Once you identify who you are, then you can identify how to market and how to brand properly. So when I first started, everyone told me, well, you've got to invest all this time, and you've got to really be in front of your community, and you've got to coach, and you got to do all this. And I'm like, well, bro, that's not me though. You know what I mean? I don't do that. Now I'm not doing all that. You know what I mean? So someone has to do that though. I get it. I get what you're saying. But I got 5,000 users and none of them know who I am. I'm not tied down to a damn thing. I'm not committed to anything. You know, and so just because other people tell you that you have to do or market a certain type of way or brand a certain type of way, don't listen to other people. Now, if you have a mentor that's already done that and doing numbers you're trying to aspire to in the niche that you're in, well, then you'd be foolish not to listen to that man or woman. However, why would I be listening to some guy that ain't got what I have or I want in the niche that I'm not in, and we're talking about how I should do shit better? You know what I mean? Like, excuse my French, but no, we're not doing that. And I got a plan, I got a vision. I'm not letting you piss on my vision. You know what I'm saying? Because you say it should be done a certain way. No, we're not doing that either. So I've identified who I am and who I'm not trying to be and who I'm not. And I'm going to play with my strengths. I'm not going to be out here doing things that you say I have to do if they're not in my wheelhouse. And that's what makes us go real far real quick. So I'd rather partner with somebody that has those weaknesses because certain things have to be in your business, but you don't have to do all of those. So at first in marketing and branding for me is identifying who it is I want to be, the brand that I want, the involvement that I want in my brand, and then going from there. So
yeah, Jim Rohn says it costs you more money and resource to do things yourself. And if it's important, the best thing you can do is hand it off to somebody else, especially if that other person is better at it. So, and I agree with Espo a lot, even in my own business. Like, same thing. Everyone's told me my whole life, you need a business plan. You need a business plan. I don't have a business plan. I don't know how to write a business plan. I'm not good at that. So, but I've been still able to do my business and get through it. You know what I mean? But the idea is eventually I need a business plan and I'll have one, but I'm going to hire somebody to do it, because if they already know how to write business plans, it's just me putting my information into their mind and letting them do their thing versus me sitting here taking 6 hours out of my day where I could be building my business or doing other things or having meetings or spending time with my family or whatever. But now I'm doing something I know I'm not good at it, and it'll still probably be wrong, and there'll probably be errors, and I'll have to go back, and that takes more time versus just writing the bill or paying the person out to say, hey, you know what, you do it, and I'm going to be satisfied. And that's one thing, with the video production, we have editors now, and for that reason, because I spent all my time here in this basement working on people's videos. And it's like, I'm not getting paid for this, but the amount of money that it costs to just pay somebody else is way cheaper than it's taking me sitting here doing it. And I get unlimited revision. So if the client has a problem, it's now their problem, not mine. Just like Espo was saying, like, he has 5,000 users and none of them are tied to him. The idea that you can have a business and no strings attached, but they are, and that's the power of delegation.
Yeah, for sure. And I'd say, like, it's always important to understand that if you need to be in your business or need to be face to face with every client, you don't necessarily have a business. You have a job that you've created.
Right.
You're self-employed,
Yes.
right? So for us at Bud Trainer, a lot of the extra work and the reason it takes so long to release a new product is because we want to make sure that it's automated. So if one day, you know, we're ready to move on from this business, whoever's looking at buying it, it's like turnkey, right? They have the
Yeah.
contractors in place that are doing the different silos. Everything's easy to take over and hand off to one of their business managers or something like that, because that's where it changes from self-employment to a business.
So the
Sure.
next question is, what do you guys think the importance of differentiation and innovation is in an industry? Especially, in a sense that, with bud trainers, right? You make clips. I was making clips. A lot of other people were making clips. What would be the importance of having a different product, and still going to market with it?
Yeah, the thing we talk about a lot is that, having a great product is kind of the bare minimum for us. Like, as a salesperson, I don't want to sell something that I wouldn't personally use. So, that's just the bar. But the best product in the market doesn't always sell the best, right? So, what we decided with, plant training specifically, we'd focus in on that tight niche of home growers who want to train their plants and create a brand around that, right? So it's like we do a lot of education-based selling, whereas like that's where we can, say to somebody who's looking at the Amazon cheap clips or whatever competitor, and it's like, okay, you can go ahead and buy those. We put a lot of extra effort into teaching you how to do it. We'll have questions from people who bought the Amazon clips, and we're still there to educate them. They then realize, oh, the clips that I bought, aren't quite working the way we'd like them to work. Or, for example, we use recycled plastic and food grade plastic too. So, there's some cheaper alternatives where you might be getting microplastics into your grow, or there's super aggressive angles and they kind of overdo the low stress training. So that's how we have differentiated ourselves in an industry that's kind of already existed, not super mainstream either. So it's a tight market that you really have to, create the brand and then be involved in the community, especially for cannabis. It's different than any other community I've ever been in as far as how intimate it can get and how tight of a circle it is.
What about you, Yoda?
So definitely, with innovation, I mean, I'm kind of a service-based business, so um, so we when we're talking about innovating, we're talking about maybe like things that we can do to change our process and kind of keep us a little bit ahead of the curve. Maybe implementing softwares and stuff to make it a better end, a better end for the user and the client, so we can send them pictures or whatnot and keep the client a little bit more involved and engaged. So certainly we innovate at a different way, with ways that we try to communicate with our clients and whatnot, or the way I try to generate clients. And I'll start, I'm playing around with trying to implement like AI bots on my webpage to just try to decrease the workflow from my office manager. And then it just and it gets answers to our clients faster, because at the end of the day, in the type of business that I'm in, it's kind of like, well, who's going to be the first person to pick up the phone, or who's going to be the first person to answer the question. And those are all challenges that we have in the service business. So we need to find ways that we can try to always be there, without necessarily having to physically always be there. So we can still make our clients happy, and they feel as if that their needs are being met, at any time. But at the same time, it also gives us the freedom to kind of, have our own life and do our own things and stuff like that. So it's all about kind of managing expectations and finding ways that you can make people happy, with implementing automations and whatnot. So. Um, um, but that's the type of stuff that I would say would be more applicable in my type of business.
Yeah, optimizing the back end is so important too, like just to keep costs down. For our business, the cheaper that we can make a process, that means that we have room to maybe lower the price or keep the price as is in a time of inflation and stuff like that.
Right.
Which can be your differentiators, there.
Absolutely. For sure.
What
And it's
Oh, sorry.
oh no, sorry.
Yeah, I think, man. So it depends on where you're at, right? So I have different companies. One, I'm a brand leader already. So, differentiation and innovation when you're already Coca-Cola is way different than if you're no one trying to be Coca-Cola or Pepsi, right? So but that differentiation is kind of why we are Coca-Cola. We are one of the most AI-centric, real estate investors, software out there. For that price, there's nothing that competes with us. We have AI bots. We have absolutely everything and then some, which definitely separates us from our competition. And they're still trying to figure out how the hell we're doing it at that price. And, that's why we are where we are. So it is important, but it is way different from some of the other companies. My solar company, we're here there and we're scratching and we're trying to innovate. We are trying to climb that mountain, something vicious. And that's a way different type of innovation and differentiation that we need for that company than it is for the other company. So it is important, but don't get caught up in the bullshit. You can't have a gimmick. It's got to be legit. You got to be real. You got to provide value to your community and to your customers. So don't be gimmicky with it because you'll see right through it, and eventually time will tell, and you'll burn your reputation. But if you do have something solid that actually helps your community, the community will talk and they'll elevate you organically. We don't spend money on marketing. All of our shit is organic because our product works. We're superior. I got to convince you. It's got to convince you. At first, we had to convince you that we were real. Everyone thought we were scam at first because our shit was so good. But now, that's not the case. And when you are there, you will become the market leader. So it's two different levels based upon where you're at. That's where I would focus on the differentiation based on where we're at in the space. So they're yeah, it's a loaded question, kind of.
That's a good problem to have where your product is so good that your biggest issue with picking up new business is making sure people know it's not a scam. Like it's a great problem to have, right? Where it's like, no, we can actually deliver on this, and it's got to feel great, getting somebody through that process and getting them the results.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. We are a production company that I own called Good Luck Stuff, and with that, you spend a lot of time with businesses and more so their clients when you're doing like client testimonials. Like when we were in Vermont with Canatrol last year doing their website video, and then we were with Easy Trim Harvesting. So for those that don't know, the reason and how I know Master Yoda, and he's going to be at my house next week because we're going to the National Cannabis Festival, which Espo, you should join us next Friday and Saturday. Is when I was in Vermont for Canatrol, I was filming, and right after that, I picked up Easy Trim Harvesting as a client for video. And I drove 200 miles to Connecticut, and I stayed with you and your husband, and we shot the Easy Trim Harvesting Wander video.
Which it was fun.
Advertised with, which was really fun. But the idea of that was, and part of that, the innovation is, and what I was going back to is, when you deal with their clients, you really get the full scope of a business because clients don't lie about their experience. And one thing that I've learned about businesses and what really helps with that innovation and that differentiation is that relationship, how the customer service was, the experiences that the client was actually having. For instance, with like butt trainers, when you have your clips and somebody's able to stretch out their plants and do things that they've never done before, that feeling, with you, with your canine company, when people are being taken care of by all your employees, the feeling, that safety that their dog provides, same with Espo, with wholesale and real estate. It's when you have something that truly benefits somebody and their reaction and their experience is so much different than the last person. I think that's the biggest driving factor. And that happens from like within, that's something that, like he said, it's not gimmicky. It can't be faked. It's either real or it just doesn't exist. And I think that's what really helps, make us very unique is it relies on the millionaire mindset, the morals, the gratitude, the respect, the love for what you do, the professionalism when nobody's looking. Does this really provide value or not? So I definitely agree. So our next topic is going to be let's share a personal story about a significant up and down about your business, from like your highest high to your lowest low. And I can start with this one. So my lowest low came early with me and Lacey when we first had Logan. So I just moved out of my dad's house and I was in my own place and I was really on my own financially, parent wise, and everything. Because my parents are great parents, but they're just not as involved as I would like them to be in Logan's life, right? And with that being said, we lived in the straight ghetto, and in the beginning of business, it was very difficult because we were very broke. I mean, we were on food stamps. I mean, I can tell you tons of times where the credit cards didn't work at the grocery store, and we just had to walk away. But I think one thing that really helped me through those times was really understanding that I'd never been in a position where I'd been just out of luck. I came from a family where everything was kind of like provided. There was never any trouble. If there was a resource needed, it was gotten type deal. So when I moved out on my own, it was a lot of culture shock because now it's the first time I've ever really seriously moved out. I have a family. I have a child now, and it's like I have this business that I have value, but how do you get clients? And you go through a lot of suffering, but the idea is it's just like that book, One More. You just give it one more try, one more thought, one more effort, and that's going to hold you over to tomorrow. And then, maybe things don't change tomorrow, but then you just give it one more. And you get to a place where we are now where, I have a beautiful townhouse. I have a really great computer that I've never had before. I have a whole warehouse side on the other side. We've gotten opportunities now that we never had before, like traveling in 15 states in 12 months. Things change, but if you don't change, nothing changes. The hardest thing I think about the millionaire mindset is like at the 3 o'clock in the morning when nothing's going on. There's obviously no business happening, and you're just left there with your thoughts. And you're like, what am I going to do next? What's my next move? How do I pivot on this? How do I build this relationship? And I think that's what builds the ups. And I think the greatest up that I have in my business is the fact that I've been able to position myself as not only a production company, but now as a brand in the cannabis space, which is where my heart and soul lies with cannabis and smoking and just the community and everything. And now I get to go out there and make a difference in other people's lives through providing video production, which I've been doing for so long. And now I'm putting education behind it. And now I'm putting real story behind it, like with you guys today. And I think that's one of the highest highs of my business. So Kurt, you're next.
Very cool, man. Yeah, I was very engaged in Espo's story too, and your story. I mean, I got to be honest, I can't really relate to those types of low early in my life, right? I've never really gotten into trouble with the law. My biggest problems were self kind of induced, right? So got into some really bad habits at the end of school, ended up in like a hospital for almost 2 weeks. And I think up until that point, I didn't really understand how real life was. Canada, we're very blessed here up until maybe recently with some of the political stuff going on here, but very safe area to grow up. And you kind of get put into this bubble where you think, you're almost living in a dream, right? And my grandparents were pretty well off, and I just kind of assumed that's how my life was going to go. And then, you grow up and you realize, okay, my parents aren't giving me a bunch of money, and I don't have, that lifestyle that I kind of just expected to follow me around for some reason. And you start to doubt yourself. And then I ended up, hitting that rock bottom. And then my first couple, months after that, were just trying to come back to real life. Like I got so strung out, and I won't get too into that story, but like very close to just almost dying, and then needing to come back. And a lot of it was not trusting myself for a while, and like doubting myself constantly, despite getting through school and having, big aspirations for after that. You just get hit with that wave of reality. So slowly building up. Like if you can't go out and start a business, just start off by watching like some Tony Robbins videos, or something that kind of gets that mindset back to wanting to be productive and having bigger goals than what you kind of your circumstances at the time are. And then just realizing like you got one life, you might as well try to make it big. Like if you don't make it big, so what? Like are you just gonna go through life watching Netflix and not at least giving yourself a chance to do something more? And then a few years after that whole experience, I got sick of just working a 9-to-5 job. I was finally ready to like break through that, and transitioned into real estate. And then again, like very heavy wave of reality. Went through 6 months without getting a single deal done. And then that first deal came through, and it was like this huge release of tension. I was like, okay, I can do this now. I got through the whole process from start to finish. Really started working hard at that and accomplishing some of the bigger goals that, my younger self would have said, yeah, that's what my life should be like. But then that middle section, I was like, so thankful and couldn't believe I got back to that point. And then real estate, what's nice about that is, it's all about how much you put in is how much you're going to get back, and it's very flexible on time. So when this opportunity with Bud Trainer came around, I've always been a huge lover of cannabis. I think that it's got so many beneficial qualities to it, especially if you use it the right way and really optimize it instead of just getting super stoned or watching Netflix. But I was like, this is a really cool opportunity in an industry that I'm super interested in. And then if it doesn't work out, well, at least I learned how to grow really great weed. So that was kind of the mindset, is let's give it our best shot, and take the positives that are going to come out of it either way, which is the lessons that you learn. And just like you said, you may not have the $1 million yet, but you're not going to get $1 million by accident. Like there's steps to this, and you just got to kind of like that Kobe thing, like you got to try to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect, but you have to try, like put your best foot forward every time and give it your all. The way you do one thing is how you're going to do everything. So just constantly improving, I'd say, is what got us to that higher point with, being a more established brand and actually, having achieved some of the goals that our young company has so far.
That's great, dude. And thanks for opening up about that, especially about that near death. I think as somebody that is almost once, committed suicide and then, died almost in a really bad car accident. Now that there's 2 ways that I could have died as well, just like you, I think it opened your eyes up. For me, a lot more. I just realized that you really aren't invisible, and you just got really, really lucky. And you also made the right decision. You know what I mean? And, I really commend you for that, because I think when you play in those really dark depths, and you're involved in your life, your health, your mentality, you can either go either way. You know what I mean? And then sometimes you get to that point where it really could have gone both ways. You know what I mean? So that's really awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, it definitely wakes you up. And I forget whose quote this was, but it's like a man has 2 lives, and it's like the second one starts when you realize you only have one. And that was that moment for me. And
I never heard that before, but I like that one.
Yeah, it's a really cool quote. So
what about you, Yoda?
So, probably I would probably say one of the biggest challenges for me was probably getting started. And when I started my business, I had been working with animals in another capacity, and my boss kind of laid me off, and I had started doing some stuff on the side, and I think he kind of realized that I had kind of gone as far as I could go in his company, and I think he saw more in me than I saw in myself, and he saw that I was on this path, and I was able to turn that into a business. Um, and the first year was, I mean, it was scary. It was leaving a 9 to 5 and starting your own business. It's hard. I think my first year in business, I think I did like 12 or $14,000. So it was rough. There certainly were some dark and scary times, but um, then you start getting these like small little successes. It's like you get a client, and now it's kind of like, oh wow, like look at me, I've got this client, and now one turns into two, and then two turns into 4 or 5, and 5 turn into 10, and all of a sudden now you're hiring people. And then you've started this company where now you're supporting people. You're supporting people's livelihoods, and then your hat starts to change, and so there's always challenges when you run a business, but the challenges kind of change, and you have to kind of learn how to adapt with those changes, and either find people that can help you or that better at doing things than you are, or have strengths that you don't. Um, but the biggest challenge for me was getting started, and I grew up in a household of entrepreneurs, so I saw it all my life with my father, running businesses. But to actually take that leap of faith and start your own business, that is probably the hardest step for anybody that's involved in kind of a 9 to 5, because it's hard to leave that steady paycheck, where you're comfortable, and you have to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable if you want to grow in business, if you want to grow as a person. Nothing ever happened to anybody amazing, for doing nothing. Everything comes with a little bit of struggle and pain, and that's what gets us, to where we want to be, and gets us the things that we want. So, throughout running the business, we've been through financial crises, and we've been through, global pandemics and whatnot, and all of those things were very scary, at different times, and for different reasons. But it's a matter of kind of seeing where you want to be, keeping your head in the right mindset, and then just pushing, and pushing yourself through, and telling yourself, this is where I'm going to be. And I think that's the biggest thing. Now I'm kind of at a place in my company where I've got a little more time, and I'm starting to look into other areas where I can try to get into other lines of work. And so I've been approached by a guy who has a company that's kind of in the cannabis space, and I've been working with him lately, and I really hope that that's going to be the next big thing, and then hopefully I'll have my own successful business, and then I'll be a partner in another successful business. But it's just, you have to keep on driving, and you have to keep a positive mindset so you can see those opportunities when they present themselves. Because if you're not in the right headspace, you're not going to see those opportunities, and they're always available. It's just keeping yourself in the headspace where you can actually see and you're receptive to those opportunities when they present themselves. So.
No, and thank you, Yoda. Thank you for sharing that. I want to iterate. It is scary, and you have to have courage, like that voice on Instagram. Do you have the courage to be different, to stand out, to go against the rest? And if you don't, there's opportunities for that, but there's a better opportunity if you do have the courage. What about you, Epso?
Yeah, so Yeah, the number one, the most difficult thing was it was me. It was the imposter syndrome. So, I was once I was able to convince myself that I was no longer, or that I was supposed to be in the business realm. Like I was telling myself all the time, like, man, dude, you dropped out of school in 10th grade. You got no business education. You don't got no college education. Like, what makes you think that you could be in this arena and compete with these guys? And you know, once I got over that and was able to convince myself of that, everything changed. Like within the first year, we made our first million. And that happened when I told. So when we started our reply, everyone told me what not to do and what to do, and it went against everything I felt in my gut. And so the best thing in business, was the validation. I hired my first employee before we had our first customer, and you know all of our customers had just fired us in our agency business, and everyone's like, dude, why are you hiring people? You've never this business has no customers, no clients, no nothing. And I'm like, look, man, I understand that you're saying that, but you don't understand, the validation is already there because I already did it in my business. And the way that people are reacting, I went all in against a lot of people's recommendations. And right now we are 40 to 50 full-time employees. I have a business that I spend, less than 4 weeks or 4 hours a weekend. We do over 500,000 a month SaaS, so we profit ridiculous, very little overhead. And, the, that all was because I had to get over the imposter syndrome. So that was the most difficult thing to happen. And once that all
That's
clicked,
cool.
boom.
Robin Williams has a quote that says, "Once ego goes bye bye, um, you start to realize all the talented people in the world and how grateful it is to have them. Like your first employee, all the other people now, that those 50 employees that make that business, and it's because you're able to let go of yourself that you're able to, like we said in the beginning, help others, educate, inspire, get people to be a part of your alliance and see your vision, and feel it for themselves. Because it's one thing, to just, believe, but it's also one thing to bring that to the table and to do it in a situation like that where it's like, what are you doing? We just got fired. Why would you be hiring an employee? You have a vision. You have a plan. It's like that voice on Instagram. It's like burn all the fucking boats, because if all the boats are gone, there's no escape plan. All the fucking
100%.
not one
100%.
left. So the next concept that we're going to be talking about is grit. Washington Post said that grit is the number one thing that drives entrepreneurs and people to success. 1/3 of the planet has what it takes to truly be an entrepreneur, based on the risks, the disappointments, the letdowns, and if you think about all the things, especially tied with mental health and what this could really do to somebody, this is, and I think the United States is a really unique place, and that's why when people are like, "Oh, I hate the U.S.," well, I think you should try living in another country and then maybe come back here and then just, different opinion. Because I really like, here, but my idea and my thought is this: just like with Eminem, you can come from the gutter and make that butter, like in his lyric. You know what I mean? And that's the opportunity, and it's the land of the free, but that also resides in you. A lot of this doesn't happen. Like when I go to bed at night, about, is I'm thinking about tomorrow. I'm thinking about who I'm going to call, what partnership I can make, what I could do for somebody else, what value I could bring, how my value could help somebody else, and really try to, honestly go to bed not wanting to go to bed. I wish I didn't have to sleep, because then I could just continuously do things. And if I could like multiply myself, I'd get a lot done. And I just feel very driven by the fact that not only am I doing this for me, but I'm doing it obviously for my family, like Lacey, my wife, and then my son, I'm also doing this for my legacy, and that's something that, as people, we should really consider, whether it's a small legacy, just in your hometown, or whether you're Eminem and, the king of rap, that it's very important to think about, how we live life and how we influence others. Because I think with grit too is, I think it's a combination of like humility. I think it's a combination of vulnerability. You have to be okay with loss. When you become a business owner, you get real quick with the word no, we're not interested, we can't afford it, whatever, quick right off the bat, and you stick with that a lot of times. A lot of things that you think that you it's kind of like that. You lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can show somebody how this could change their life, and they still don't get it. You know what I mean? But the idea that we still have that passion behind us, that we still have that encouragement, that drive to educate others, to inspire others, even if they're not really listening to us, I think that's the part that creates that grit in ourselves. Is we want this so bad, it does not matter what happens. I don't care if, like, like you, with everybody just firing us, or everybody in the company just leaving or disappearing. It doesn't matter. When you love what you do, that's good enough. And, that's why we're all standing here today as successful business owners, and we're all on different levels. But the idea is we all have the same mindset, which is that millionaire mindset, that we're not going to give up until we get it. What about you, Kurt?
Yeah, I mean, I think adversity is pretty important in developing that. Like, I don't know exactly where I got it, but I've always kind of been stubborn, just as a baseline. So, getting told no, or, I was always kind of borderline okay hockey player, but I keep getting cut from the better teams. But it's just like, how do you respond to that? It's like you can either just accept that you're not going to be as good, or you can use that as motivation, to get stronger. Um, so you're not going to make it in business if, like, there's a lot of things that need to come together. It's because grit's just one of those factors. But if you have a passion for something, and you don't have grit, you're just going to run into some of these problems. Like for Bud Trainer, we had a lot of momentum getting new retailers in the U.S., and then all of a sudden, our samples that we were sending across the border got flagged as cannabis paraphernalia. Okay, we sell fabric pots and garden ties, and because our name's Bud Trainer, we started getting stuff confiscated. So, for a company that's not really cash flowing yet, to have, $50 worth of products, and, the $30 or whatever shipping, get, I think, I don't know, we had probably 25 shipments more get held up. I mean, that's a big blow to us. And the US was a much bigger source of our income, even at that time. So, H right away, like, our first reaction is, oh, this is big trouble. We're thinking about potentially, like, could we survive this? And then the next day we're like, no, this isn't the end. Like, that, this isn't going to be how, we call it quits. And we found, a way to make it work by doing a lot of our packaging in the US itself, which actually came with the second benefit of contributing to the local economies that we're selling to. So just, you're going to come to problems, and you may not be the one to solve it, but if you don't have the skill set to solve it, find a way to make the money to pay somebody who can solve it for you, and just keep on going. And just realize it's probably going to take a bit longer to be successful than you expect. Like, we're behind our our hopeful projections from when we started the business, but things are progressing well. And we built a great community, and even if this isn't the thing that makes us all millionaires, we've really enjoyed how it's gone so far.
Fantastic. What about you, Yoda?
I think a lot of it kind of comes down to drive. And I had a coach growing up, and he kind of taught us, you don't get better by staying the same. If you stay the same, you get better or you get worse. So if you want to get better, you have to make yourself better every day. And so I've kind of had that instilled in me since high school. And so I every day I try to do something that makes me better than I was, a better version of me than I was the day before. And I find trying to live like that, it just kind of keeps me on the right track. Um, because that's when you run a small business, it's a little bit of a hustle, and you got to have drive. And if you don't have drive, you're just not gonna, you're just gonna stop. Um, and I'm not where I want to be in life yet. I'm still on that road, pushing, 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 and I don't know if I'll ever get to that point, because if I get to that point, I'm going to want something else, you know. So it's all about trying to keep that drive on, and just always pushing yourself to be better. How can I make my product better? How can I be better at customer service? How can I be a better trainer? How can I be a better teacher? And these are all things that I'm always trying to do, so that way it keeps me being a better version of myself. So.
And I think, with that, and this is what I was trying to talk about in the beginning, is with any type of investment or return, it starts with the within. And I think you nailed it on the head with it starts with the self, because a lot of this is selfless. This is a very selfless, thing. It's isolated. You spend a lot of time alone trying to figure out how we're going to do things. And you honestly, I think, as business owners and entrepreneurs, you experience things that people don't typically do, or have to figure out problems that people don't usually have to figure out. Because, like, my dad, he works for the government, and a lot of stuff I tell him, he's like, I wish I had some feedback. He's like, I just don't know the answer. And it's like, but you've never thought about this, or you've never thought this. And he's like, no, I don't think that way. And it's interesting. How about Espo? What about you?
Yeah, so to play on some of that, I think we got to realize, everyone ain't built for this shit. So, definitely this is entrepreneurialism is a full contact sport, but you say you are built for it, you say you want to give it a try. Okay. You're going to have grit, and grit is going to be defined and determined in those worst times. So, if you're not constantly pushing yourself, or you're not constantly pushing your business, if you're not constantly trying things and failing, then you don't know whether you have grit or not. You ain't been kicked in the nuts yet. Grit is when you get kicked in the nuts and you'd rather just lay on the canvas and hold them, but instead you stand up and you swing the fuck back. And you can't do that playing meager, or on the sidelines. So, yeah, you better have grit and entrepreneurialism. You're not going to make it. Plain and simple. But you're not going to be able to determine that until you get forged in the fire, until somebody actually tests you in your business, until you have a tough time where it's shit. Pay the rent, pay the employees. Well, you got to pay them employees. That's grit. Paying the rent, that's the easy part. But your responsibility, showing true grit, tenacity, and being real to your business, you pay those employees and you deal with the consequences of not running a proper business enough to pay both. That's how you get better, but that's how you determine whether you have grit in business, and you better have it or you're not going to make it.
Yeah, no, I definitely. Nelson Mandela says there's no glory in playing small, or something like that. But I do agree with you.
Found in playing small. That's exactly it. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep, and I think that's true. It's why even put in the effort? That's why, okay, for instance, people that scam people. For instance, there's a lot of events that people pay to be sponsors at, and then the event doesn't happen, and then nobody gets their money back, and then everybody loses out, right? And it's to do all that work to build all those relationships, to offer all this, and you could have just made it happen, but you didn't because you're an ass. And you know what I mean? It's just why even do something if you're not even going to do it. Like, that's just like all the effort, and you could have put off a great event. Instead, you just wanted to be a dick and fuck everybody over. You know what I mean? I just don't get why you did it all. You know, like, so I agree with that. So the next one is, how does cannabis contribute to mental clarity, and then how does it also um, work with you guys independently in your businesses with misconceptions about entrepreneurs and business owners? Have you ever been criticized as a business owner? And I'll go first, real quick. So, in my business and my life, and in personal things, from motorcycle clubs to Logan's Boy Scouts to the Freemasons to business owners, I've always been criticized from here and there for smoking. And I even have a couple friends who have told me that I would be much more successful if I didn't smoke weed. And I think that's wrong, because I think as a business owner, I take that as an insult. I've worked very hard in my business. I bleed for my business. This is how I make my money. If I don't do my businesses, I don't eat. There is no safety net. There is no like rich father. There is no like trust fund. There's me and my family, and the opportunity that I create. So, as somebody to say that I'm not going to be as good as somebody that doesn't smoke weed, or like maybe I can't do my job as good because I'll be quote unquote too high, I've heard that a lot. And, as a creative, as somebody who is supposed to sit here and take the mundane and make it extraordinary, like a video I did for a plunger for Kickstarter. How great can a plunger be, to be on TV to get you excited, right? So yeah, I'm gonna have to sit there and smoke some weed and figure out, damn, I'm gonna have to make this shit exciting. And this is a fucking plunger, but I did. You know what I mean? And as a person, I think, for me is clarity. I deal with a lot of mental health. I think more of my trauma is self-induced. I think I'm my biggest enemy and my biggest setback, or like my thoughts. Like I do a lot of great things, but in the end, I feel like a very small person on the inside, right? And it's kind of like a crazy concept, but I kind of take it as like how Michael Jackson was. So Michael Jackson could sing in front of 100,000 people, and he had a very unique ability to make the crowd feel like he was just singing to them. But in reality, Michael Jackson was a very shy person, very timid person. You know what I mean? And here you are on stage as a rock star, but in reality, you're very shy, you're very humble, you're very, timid. And regardless of what you think about him, the point is sometimes when I was in business psychology, my business coach Rob, he gave us this thing, and it shows that sometimes people are more confident and show greater strength in business than they do their personal life. So with that, I really think that cannabis helps me kind of sit there and kind of digest a lot of this and say, okay, well, how can I be better? And then maybe think of some of the things that I do that are, because you have to have a checks and balance. I think you can't always fluff yourself and say, oh, I'm always doing great. I don't think that really exists. I think there are times where you have to stay self-corrected, and you have to say, I am the problem. I am why I'm not where I want to be. And once you start to open yourself up, which I'm still working on, things change. And I think for me, as somebody who has never done any wrong to anybody on cannabis, who's never messed up a job, never faulted on a project, or done anything that would cause distress, to be criticized for cannabis use while I use it for clarity and to better my creative mind, I just feel is very insulting. Kurt.
Yeah, I think it's like for me, I use it situationally, right? So I have a medical license for back pain, but when I'm, working throughout the day, I like to smoke a little bit of hash, and I find that I'm still super clear mentally there. But It allows me to like focus in on what I'm doing, which like for me it's pretty important, because if I get a notification or something pulls me in a different direction, you're just going to fall out of what you're doing, and that's obviously super bad for productivity. And then just like really drawing a line, because it's not something that you can just think about necessarily 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Is like when I'm actually smoking flowers, it's me like drawing that line from when I'm on and when I'm off, and then you can like fit that in at the end of the day a bit easier. Helps with going to sleep. So obviously, I think if I didn't have that, I'd be up a lot later. I'd probably be either sleeping in or super tired on a chronic basis, and then that's just going to lead to bad decision making, not really maximizing your opportunities, or seeing these new opportunities as they come up. And like as far as the misconception stuff, yeah, I mean it's been legal here for 7+ years, and I still feel awkward when I know I kind of smell like cannabis, out in, especially business situations. For real estate, obviously I'm not consuming before I'm going on showings, or writing up legal documents on an offer. But it is a big part of my life, so I always do kind of have that concern, is especially doing a lot of content creation for bud trainers, like how is my client going to react to this if they saw what my habits were, or how much I do use cannabis. And I think a lot of those misconceptions come from the fact that if you don't smoke weed medicinally or on a regular basis, you're judging your what somebody's experiencing when they're high off of your experience in high school, where you had no tolerance built up, and it was super taboo, and you didn't take the time to develop kind of the tolerance, but just an understanding of what you can do while you're consuming, and the positive side to it. Because I don't think it's like popping a Tylenol, right? Like that's going to make you feel a little bit better right away. Like cannabis, I think you have to get over that initial mental craziness, or pick a strain that's not going to give you some crazy paranoia if you're going to get the good benefits from it. So I'm very selective with which strains I smoke and how I'm smoking through a day or a week, based on the situation I'm in.
Very nice. Now, I usually stay stoned because, see, I have ADHD and I'm very kind of like all over the place. For me, I really feel like weed really kind of like just brings me down where I can focus. Because especially when I do like computer work or like documents or emails and stuff like that, I hate that. So for me, this is like that breaking barriers so I can get some of the stuff done. But that's why that's why, just like with alcohol, just like with other things, you have your intolerances, yourself. And that's part of smoking responsibly. And also that millionaire mindset is, hey, I know when it works for me, I know when it doesn't work for me, and I'm going to put in the best position so I can continue to enjoy. And it's like a mind over matter, because that's my biggest thing, is always being judged by people, especially in the professional sense when you're writing up legal documents. You don't want people to be like, oh, well, he messed up and this is why. And it's just, Yoda.
So cannabis, and for me has been so helpful in so many ways. So excuse me. So one of the things is, in one way, it can help me get out of my head and it can help me turn off. So at the end of the day, it's great because sometimes my mind is racing when I put my head on the pillow and I just won't get to sleep. So sometimes just at bedtime, it can put me out and it turns my brain off. So that way I can wake up refreshed the next morning and be ready to face that day and take on those challenges. But it certainly helps with like social anxiety. You know, I tend to it really in my adult life, my relationship with cannabis is, really kind of started it from the medical angle. I had a different relationship with it in high school, but when I really started looking at it as medicine and realizing what different strains could do and how they could affect me, and whatnot. Like I've pretty much it's pretty much become my new medicine cabinet. I don't take Tylenol, I don't take ibuprofen. Um, I have a strain for, if I have a headache, if I have if I have, joint discomfort, I have a strain for that, or I have topicals that I can use. But doing what I do, during the day, it's unfortunate because, I feel like I have to keep myself sharp, and I drive during the day. So it's something that I'm not necessarily comfortable using during the day, which is unfortunate. Because when I look at it as a medicine, um, you wouldn't tell somebody that they couldn't take their antibiotic because they had to work, or they had to take, or they couldn't take their Vicodin if they had to work, if they have a legitimate prescription for that. So it is something that as a cannabis medical patient, I kind of feel like we're always kind of being somewhat discriminated against. But I was in Atlanta a couple years ago, at a kind of startup company, and they had like 3 levels in a high-rise building, and they had like a full-on bar, and like people have like bottles of whiskey or whatever, and they have wet bars or dry bars in their office, and this mindset that people think, oh well, if you use cannabis, you must be lazy, or have all these negative associations with it. But you go into almost any office, and there's probably going to be, a couple of bottles of alcohol in on any floor of any, corporate office. So it's not really any different, well, no, I would say it is different, because when I look at it from a medicinal standpoint, I can use it for specific things. If I need to focus on something, I've got strains that I can use if I really need to focus. And if I need to turn off, I've got strains for that. And if I need to take away some physical discomfort, I've got strains for that. And that's kind of been my relationship with cannabis in my adult life. So I don't know. I think that cannabis is way more beneficial than alcohol, and it's not very accepted, which is unfortunate, even though it's legal in 24 states and DC.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. And that's my biggest thing about an argument is like, oh, people can have their drink, but I'm gonna sit here, and that was the thing with the Masons. Right after lodge, where does everybody go? Across the street to the bar. Where does everybody go after the bar? They go home. How do people get home? They have to drive
They
home.
drop.
So you're technically, drinking and driving, but yet you're saying that I can't drink or I can't smoke and drive because it's too dangerous because marijuana is a drug, and yet criticizing me and saying that, oh, I'm the problem. Like when this all went down, they literally sent me in like a semicircle and told me that I was ruining my life, and I'm like, you guys are alcoholics. Like, how are you telling me that I'm ruining my life? You sit there and drink every night. I sit here and smoke weed. You know what I mean? Like if something happened, I can still do shit. If you're fucking drunk off your ass, which I have nothing against alcohol. I love drinking. It's just my thing is I prefer smoking over drinking. So if we're gonna have a party, usually gonna have a joint in the hand and then the beer. Joint and split first. But episode.
Yeah, so for me, it's like to each their own. Know you. If I were to blaze tree and it got me to the point where I didn't feel like working and I wanted to go do something else, like when I drink alcohol, then I wouldn't blaze tree. That's why I don't drink a lot of alcohol. Once I'm drinking, business is done. Like I don't talk about this. I don't make no business decisions. Don't talk to me. Even a partner, bro. I'm drinking. We not talking today. It's tomorrow time. So I don't drink a lot. I blaze and I get active. I blaze and I go after and get shit done. I wake up at 8 in the morning, go to bed at 1. Between all those hours, I'm blazing straight up. And so the first 10 years when I was struggling, oh yeah, I heard the chatter and the whispers. I'm saying people, oh yeah, you should stop this. Now they're like, yo, what the fuck that is? Yeah, now the way conversation, now it's like, damn, now I guess he doesn't have a problem. I guess there is no issues. Yeah, because you're always going to be judged by that. based on your success. And it's unfortunate because it had nothing to do with the tree. It had to do with your lack mentality and trying to find an excuse or a reason and a blame as to why I'm not here or there, or a reason why you're not here or there. And so my, personally, I wasn't very vocal about it, while I was going through things, but I never hid it. But even now, there's certain rooms where I'm not walking in there, smelling like tree. I've got certain rooms where there's billionaires in there, and I'm not screwing up an opportunity based on their understanding of marijuana. I'm just not going to risk that. But other than those rooms, I blaze all day unapologetically and fuck off, however you want to carry it or whatever your opinion is of me. It is what it is. That's, on you, to each their own. Like you said, and like many people have already said, it's okay to be an attorney and a drunk all day long, right? That's fine. That's no problem there. But I blaze and have no consequences from it, and now I'm the bad guy, or I'm gonna be negatively judged by you. Fuck you. I don't live my life like that. Never have. Don't really care about it. Although under certain business terms, I will respect who's in that room without a doubt. But marijuana is definitely a benefit for me. I was a very hyper individual, aggressive individual in my former life, and that was definitely a tool to tool me down, to calm me down rather. And even now, yeah, it's a lot of benefit. It calms me down and keeps me level, but it doesn't negatively impact. If I were to blaze and be like, damn, I don't feel like working, then that's a problem. And for some people, like you get, that was their one time and their one time experience with marijuana. So they're always going to associate that action with blazing, and they're going to push that on us. And that's not fair, but it is what it is. And because of that, it's still smart to be business savvy enough not to smell marijuana in certain areas. But other than that, it is legal. The benefit versus, the negatives are far better than marijuana and tobacco and pretty much a long list of everything else that they found a way to monetize and profit from. But marijuana is just not on that list, and so it's always been demonized. But I wouldn't allow that to happen in one's presence. So stick up for yourself in certain circles, but you're always going to be negatively judged until you have abundant success that makes them want to pick up a joint and be like, damn, let me try that. If you get that, then it's a different story. But until then, it's gonna be a problem. In my experience, anyway.
No, and I agree on that as well. The biggest thing too is when I've gone like in my dark periods where like let's say like business is slow or things are happening, and sometimes I've thought to myself like, well maybe I just need to stop smoking weed, and then I'm just like, but is weed really the problem? Because life is going to happen regardless. There's some things in business and life that you can control. A lot of it you can't, and as business owners, a lot of what we can't control is like, the month to month, the employees or the clients, the sales or, the expenses, what goes on. Is it, a good month or is it a bad month? Are we just breaking even? And with that being said, it's just like you have so much to battle, but damn it, I just lost my train of thought. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I was going on something and then I just lost it. So it'll probably come back to me. So going on to the next topic. Sorry, it was really good. So no, I left you hanging.
That's such a stoner moment too, though.
It is.
That's great, man. That's like the balance you have.
But I'm
to
honest
keep in
about
mind.
it. I could have tried to bullshit it off and play it up, but I'm like, you know what? But
No.
episode's great. You gotta know when to put it on and take it off, and that's a quote that one of my other mentors says is you gotta learn when to put it on and take it off, like a suit essentially. And when you're in front of like really successful people, maybe it's not a great idea unless they're all smoking. But I definitely agree with the fact that it's not the problem. It would be the ultimately come down to the person, and that's the thing too is it's a responsibility thing. It's saying, no, I'm the problem in my own business. And I told this to Lacey the other day. I was like, you know what? I think we're horrible. I think we're horrible managers. I was like, I think we need to hire a manager for the company. And it's not a bad thing. It's just that in life, most people are good at one really good thing and maybe two another really good thing. You know, like people like speak five languages, but how many are they truly fluent in? You know what I mean? How many of them do they really speak time speaking? You know what I mean? And that's the idea is you're going to be good at what you get. And that's another thing with the whole competition is you have to remember most people are good at one to two things. So when you work with strategic partnerships, you can't see them as competitions because they might have the same weaknesses that you do. The idea is we're going to network, we're going to collaborate, and we're going to find people in our space who are ultimately better than us and figure out an alignment and how do we all make money. Just like Epsa said, hey, if you want to make $1 million, I want to make $1 million. How do we make 2 million? You know what I mean? Then you get one, then I get one. So moving on to our next topic, critical lessons that you wish you had known in the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey. And the importance, and I'll tell you when I start first, of networking, mentorship, and community support. So I think one of the biggest things that I wish I would have learned, and I learned this from EPSO, so I have to give him the credit, is I wish I spent more time hiring people in the beginning to help me do the work so I could actually focus on the business. One thing that I did in the mistake in the beginning is, like you guys, we've been talking about, I was very insecure about my business. Thought everybody was going to take my ideas, take my business. I didn't want to partner with everybody. Everybody was my enemy. I really didn't trust anybody, and I really isolated myself. And I didn't want to look to other people for advice or success because I felt like less because I knew everything. And I think a lot of this, true, still continuously that I'm going through is the ego is washing away and the humility and the vulnerability to want to be better, to want to learn, is coming out. So I think one of my biggest things is I wish I had brought people in to understand my vision earlier to really help build that community support, that network that really help drive the business. Because when you isolate yourself like that and you don't want to, you're so worried about everybody else, no people don't know about you because you're not connected to anybody, and you run this really like lonely line of, now I'm alone. Like now I'm not collaborating with anybody. And where does that leave you? It doesn't leave you anywhere. So I think the biggest thing that I think people should understand is it's okay to get help. And the best thing you can do in your business, and I call EPSO all the time for advice. I know I'm like, hey, listen, I don't know this, or I don't know this. Or, look to your community. Sometimes I'll go on Facebook and I'll be like, hey, do I have any Facebook friends that are good with blah, 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 blah? Because you're not going to know everything. You're going to know what you're good at. And like for me is video and production, but actually running a company versus actually going to shoot videos and photos is different because running the production side of my company involves me sitting here in front of these 3 screens doing emails and cold calls and phone calls and following up with people and trying to get things started and trying to generate more business and everything like that. It's not always going out there and taking photos. And that's the one thing that I had a misconception is, hey, I'm this photographer, I'm just going to be out there taking photos and doing all this. Well, yeah, maybe if I was hired by National Geographic and I was on all these assignments, but when you're a single business owner, you create those assignments, you create those opportunities, you create those gigs. And if you don't, well, I always kind of like this, it's like when people are like, oh, I'm a photographer. Okay, well, when was the last shoot? Oh, I did something a year ago. Well, you're not a photographer. You're a photographer the last time you did something. You need to be in your industry, working and engaging. And if you're not, you're like, that's what I was saying. You're just sitting on the sidelines, and that's nowhere to be. So, and then the importance of networking is your network is your net worth. And he'll tell you that too. what your friends are doing, who they're engaged with, the moves that they're making are so vital. You want that community where it's like, hey, dude, I just made $1 million, and your friends like, hey, I just made $1 million. And that's awesome. It's like, okay, well, what are you doing? Oh, I'm doing this. Or what are you doing? I'm doing that. There's just so many opportunities to expand yourself. So that's what I wish I would have known, is to really let people in and to think bigger from the beginning, not thinking, oh, I have to get to a certain point. And that's something I still battle with today.
Yeah.
Yoda. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Yoda.
No, Kurt,
So,
you
Kurt, you can go if you want. Go,
No,
go,
man,
go,
you're
go.
ready.
All
No,
right,
no, I
all
know
right,
you're
all
gonna do
right,
really
all
good.
right. So, all right, I kind of got caught up in what was the core of that question one more time, just so I make
okay.
sure I'm still on point.
Yeah, so we're talking about the things that we wish we had known early in our entrepreneurial
Right.
journey and the importance of networking, mentorship, and community support.
So, okay, great. Okay, so it's funny kind of hearing some of the things that you're talking about because certainly like there is a huge value of networking and um I've been very guilty of not doing that very much. Uh and I did uh I met a couple people in the industry and I became very, very close with them. And so I mean I guess it was networking, but in a really small scale. So I guess I kind of wish that, and to this day, I wish that I kind of expanded on that network, um, because at this point, I kind of realized that there's some limitations with that, and and some of of the people aren't even in the industry anymore. So I wish I had gotten a grander network. However, that being said, um, I always have aspired to kind of spending time with people in other businesses and always having interest in asking questions and seeing what they do because I just I have an interest in that, and always trying to think of how can I apply that into what I do and make something better. So I definitely wish that I had um, done more networking, and I still struggle to this day, and a lot of that stems also from just some social anxiety of being in groups. I do so well with one-on-one conversations, but sometimes in big groups I get a little bit lost in the shuffle. Sometimes I feel like, so I definitely wish that I had done that. I wish that I had um, I had employees from a relatively early on uh, starting my business, but I wish that I had put more energy into other avenues of making money. Um, at this point in time in my life, I feel like I put a lot of my eggs in one basket, and I now I want to expand. And I've seen so many other of my clients who they don't have one business, they have like 4 or 5 businesses. So now I just kind of feel like I'm a little bit behind the curve. With some of the people that I really admire. So I guess I wish that I had really just um, uh, maybe got a little bit more involved in taking a little more steps to be able to take a little bit more time away from my current business, so that way I could put more resources in starting other ventures. So it's something that that I'm still working on today, that I'm still slowly starting to kind of dabble in. So I guess that's kind of the biggest thing. And sometimes I'm a slow learner. So
It's the
uh,
bar just constantly like moving. Like I remember early on when I was doing a bookkeeping startup because I went to school for accounting. I underlooked how much sales I would have to do, right? And I think if you're trying to do a service, obviously, you don't just have a pool of people who need your service to pick from, right? Like if you're a dentist, you also have to market your dentist office. If you're an accountant, you need to find companies that need your accounting services. So, like a lesson that I wish I would have been able to get through my head. I think I, heard it from all the books and, mentors and people that I was talking to, but really drill into my head that you need to just develop these skills because, even when you're dealing with employees, it's a bit of selling and networking, and you can really put gasoline on a fire in your business if you're bringing in the right people, or even just getting like some of those ideas from a third party that isn't as involved in your business, and it's just like a light bulb moment. So like um, and then when I found out how much selling that I was going to need to do, it was just getting over that hurdle of what is sales, right? Because I think a lot of people who don't naturally, have that skill of selling, it feels like slimy. You think of the used car salesman kind of thing, where it's manipulative or something like that, and then I learned if you're selling products that you would sell to yourself, it's not like that. It's more just asking questions and finding out who's got a problem that you can solve, rather than doing something that was, not in that person's best interest. So those are some of the things that, I would have probably been ahead of the game with my decision making and my businesses if I built those skills a little bit earlier, just had the confidence to understand that that was something I was going to have to do, and it's not that big of a deal if you put the time in to learn some of the principles, and then just get better over time as you do it. But I mean, the bar constantly moves. What worked for us as a startup isn't necessarily something that we can do in a scaling up stage, and then once we're more established, like Espo's Coca-Cola reference there, you're gonna have to change practices all over again, and just got to keep kind of learning as an entrepreneur, or bring people in who can do those jobs, and you let them do it.
I agree with you that when we first started upselling, our video prices, I told Lacey, I was like, I feel like we're robbing people. Like I feel, you feel when you first start out, you feel wrong. But what you have to understand is everything is based on value. The time it took for you to get to that level, the investments that you've made, and ultimately the opportunity that they have once they have whatever it is you're giving to them is so much greater. And the biggest thing that you do in business is you say, well, hey, I really want this client, so maybe I'll give a discount. And the problem with that is you're discounting your own opportunity. And I heard this voice on Instagram, and it said, when you discount a product or discount a service or whatever to gain a client, what that does is, one, it negatively rewards them. It also punishes the people that would be willing to pay for that service, and then also it sends a negative like presence in your mind that you don't value the product as much because you're willing to go deep because somebody else doesn't value it as much, and because you want them to be a part of it, you have an option. And Cat Williams once said that, you have to stop thinking out of desperation, and you have to start thinking out of talent. If you think out of desperation, that's when you'll cave. You'll do anything, right? When you think out of talent, you think out of value. Why would I give this to you cheaper when I know the value that it's going to give you? I know the opportunity that you're going to have with this. That's why you want to buy this. This is why it cost it. I was just in a meeting the other day where the person that said, for my contract, based on its price point, he listed off all these big number of things that he could do with the same amount of number. And he said that my price is too expensive. And I learned this from Millionaire on Instagram on one of the reels. And he said, use the response as it should be. So when the guy came at me and he said, your pricing is too expensive, I said, as it should be. Just like on the Instagram video, you know what the guy's response was? You're right. like saying that if he agreed with me, as it should be. You're damn right. It should be expensive. You know what I mean? Because you're redirecting that. Your value is what you make it. So I want you to lead on this. You know all about creating value.
Yeah, so honestly, I stepped away for 2 minutes, so I didn't hear the original question. When I came back, Master Yoda was talking, and I just want to address something right there real quick. So, you may feel like you're behind because other people have multiple streams of income, but that having multiple streams of income is a benefit of doing one of them right the first time. So in my business, we have multiple streams of income too, but we earned the right to have multiple streams of income. So I didn't add a secondary product until I was cash flowing 6 figures a month. Now we have multiple products, but I earned the right to add the product. And so the secondary stream of income came. Now we vertically integrated, but you can't chase two rabbits and catch them both. Be fucking great at one thing. Catch one rabbit. Earn the right to get another stream of income. Because you got to, business is hard enough if you're focusing all your time on it. If you half-assing it, you're never going to get there. If you get in a real niche with real competitors, and so yeah, I just wanted to say that because I see so many business owners, so many entrepreneurs, they want to be successful and they divide their time up. Man, you ain't successful in focusing on one thing yet. Once you do that, you earn the right to then divide your time up. And that's going to come from building a team. That's going to come from all of the skill sets that it takes to be successful. For whatever niche it is, not every business needs a team. You know what I mean? Not every business needs 1,000 employees. Not every business needs these foundational pieces that it takes to be successful in other niches. So, yeah, I just wanted to address that. Sorry. What was the original question? Like I said, I stepped away when I
No,
came.
that's great, and thank you so much for your advice and your wisdom, because we all learn together, and the inputs and the different levels of business that we're in and backgrounds that we have. The diversity is what makes this a golden opportunity for those that are listening and for us that are actually engaged in this conversation. There's so much to learn. The original question was, what are some of the things you wish you would have known in the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey? And then what I was talking about with you, as you being one of my mentors, is the importance of network, mentorship, and community support.
Yeah, so I wish I knew this is not going to be easy. I thought this was going to be a cakewalk, honestly. And it's just not. That's not the case. So it's going to take everything that you have to make this work. Some of us are blessed in certain areas, and so you take those blessings and you apply it to the business and you try to build around that. One of my blessings is my significant other. Without her, this doesn't work like this. You know what I mean? Like I'm an introvert, so building a team, communicating like that with all that really wasn't going to work for me. It would have been a skill I would have had to learn. It would have taken time to learn. It would have been something that I really would have had to focus on, but I didn't have to go through that. I was able to hire really quickly because she complements a lot of things that I don't have. She is college educated. She did come from a corporate structure. She worked for Tyson's Food, managing 129 employees in her regular job, but she didn't just hop over. I had to earn the right to hire her. I had to 4x her income before she would get from her corporate, well-paying job to come join into the business. So, I had no idea it was going to be this difficult. I thought it was going to be difficult. I thought it was going to be easy, rather, and it just wasn't. So that's what I thought I would have, I would have liked to know that. Again, I'm an introvert, so I'm not really big on the whole your network is your net worth. I go spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on events, and I don't need all that raw shit. I am very self motivated. I don't have an alarm. I wake up every morning like clockwork. I don't
Yep.
I don't need any help with motivation. I'm a big proponent on mentors. See, a mentor is way different. networking is always seems to be a bunch of motherfuckers that are at the bottom of the bucket trying to get the bucket, don't know how to get up, so we're all trying to give each other bad advice on how to get up, but none of us have been there, so why are we listening to each other?
That's 100% right. No.
That was the best description of networking I've ever heard.
I go to
That's amazing.
all the time. I've been one down here in Fredericksburg for a year now. I've not gotten a single business. It's the truth, though. It's 100% the truth.
No. That's why I got a question for you, though. If
No,
you
he's not
knew,
done yet.
sorry,
He's still going.
No, he got.
just with so you said if you would have known how hard it was going to be, like that's what you would have like wanted to know, but like would you have still pursued what you're doing knowing how hard it was going to be? Because sometimes I'm like, I'm glad I didn't know how hard it was going to be, because I might have not done it, you know.
Brother, absolutely, man. There's nothing like the life that I live. I live a fairy tale life, brother. My hardest decision on some days is, do I drive my freaking F-150 Shelby or my Lambo, my S63, my Trackhawk, or, you know, we fly private. We do. I mean, it's a life like none other. None other. The only thing I would have done differently, I got mentorship way early. I was hard-headed. And also I dealt with a lot of self-doubt, like, you know, again, the imposter syndrome aspect of it. Because when I really realized, oh shit, this ain't gonna be a cakewalk. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of skills I don't possess. The streets didn't have those. I didn't have those skills. I had to learn those skills, and that was very uncomfortable. You know, even now getting on stage, I'll be sweating. I'll be pouring down. I don't like that type of interaction. You know, I have to learn leadership. Again, my old position, leadership, was earned in much different fashion. So here, you know, you got to, if you want big time employees, you got to have a vision that they can be like, holy shit, yeah, I can make $1 million with this motherfucker. Yeah, I can.
And just so you know, Money loves his Lamborghini.
Hey now,
That's his Lambo right
that's
there.
that's a sweet ride, my friend.
Yeah, I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
can I build
You know
off
what's
that?
funny? I've been friends with you for over a year now, and I still never gotten a ride in it. I filmed you drive it, but I've never gotten a ride.
A closed mouth doesn't fit, brother. All you gotta do is ask.
But you know when he's coming, because he drives like he stole it.
Oh yeah, I don't have it just to sit there. Oh no, I burn it up. I burn it up. If I break it, I'll buy another one. I burn that thing up. I play with my toys.
Yeah. Hey, can I build off that imposter syndrome? Because I definitely struggle with it. I think a lot of people struggle with it. Espo, maybe not you so much anymore, and maybe you still do. But you know, when you were just talking about, you know, pricing and discounting services, you know, that's that imposter syndrome. You know, that's it kind of haunting you. You know, oh well, maybe I have to discount my price because I'm asking too much, or he's calling me out on too much. No, you know, it's like you've worked too hard, you know, in video production, and you know, it may take you, you know, an hour to do something that maybe, you know, it might take another editor 5 hours to do or whatever, but that's your experience, you know, and that's all part of it, you know. And the same thing for me, like in the service business, sometimes people are like, oh well, I feel like that's too much, and it's like, you know, if I back down, I'm like, oh well, okay, what would you, you know, then that's me devaluing myself. And you know, we have to you know, we have to kind of, we can't do that to ourselves, otherwise, you know, that imposter syndrome kind of wins. And I certainly think on the pricing standpoint, I think that's where I can feel it a lot. You know, and not to mention, you know, and like some, like, you know, if I'm like at some like some award ceremony or something, or, you know, a bunch of like executives, you know, then you certainly feel the imposter syndrome kind of creeping in. But yeah, so I just.
But when you get your own awards, and when they ask you to be on stage for awards, then it starts changing. You know what I mean? Like I turn down gigs all the time now, but I had to earn that. Yeah, nobody was asking before, but yeah,
right.
Percent internally, you have to get that out, figure that shit out. You know what I'm saying? But every time that you allow life to win and you devalue yourself, all that shit's another brick that keeps isolating you. You just keep stacking up, and eventually you won't be able to get out of there, and there'll be no way to win because you built up so many bricks around you, letting life kick you in the balls, and you just accepting it instead of pushing back and saying, "Nah, you're not closing me in." But that's difficult, and I didn't want to do it. That's exactly what I would have done if I had to do it over. I'd be pushing myself in the most difficult situations. And for me, it was talking in public, speaking to people. That's why wholesaling. This is why my tool's so amazing, right? Because I would get in front of homeowners, and I would be so nervous. I'd be sweating my ball. They'd be like, "Sir, are you all right? You certainly need a towel." This shit ain't gonna work. If I have to be in front of these homeowners, we're gonna go broke. So I built a system to automate all this because it wasn't gonna be me.
Right.
So all this automation came out of necessity and desperation because I had a skill set that I was lacking: communication, basic communication. And at that time, I still felt like a semi-imposter because I didn't have $350,000 to buy this person's house. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that, and it was very new to me. Once you start getting over those things, those little wins start boosting you up, and you're gonna have to take a hard stand. Especially if you're chasing too many rabbits. You may have to be like, you know what? F this. I'm putting all my eggs in this one basket, and they say diversify. That's for when you're rich, man. That's not now. The diversification is when you got a lot of shit to diversify.
Right.
You focus and get rich, and then you diversify. But yeah. Oh yeah, and the back thing. So yeah, networking. I'm not a big believer in that, but I am a big believer in getting a mentor that has your best interests at heart. And for $19.95, y'all can sign up and mentor. No, I'm just kidding. No, but
it'd be worth it.
Buy my course, yeah.
Yeah, buy my course. No, I don't have nothing to sell. I got no courses.
So after this, he's going to give a presentation. You don't have to sign up.
But
all we need is your email address.
Yeah, that's right, or phone number. Give me your phone number. I'll take that. But yeah, get a mentor. Find somebody that's as close to your space as possible, or doesn't have to be have 10x more than what you want out of what your goal is. You can find a mentor that's not really in your space. For me, my mentor is 68.5 million he made last year. He's not really in my space, but do I think I can learn something from the man? Yeah. Yeah. Got him his check. And you know what I mean? He's not cheap, 50K. But anyone in the room is already at a certain bar, and then those rooms, that's not networking at that point. You know what I mean? We're all got the same mentor, and a lot of the guys in the room are doing numbers that are just bananas. You know what I'm saying? So if you get into the right mentorship, then you can get into the right group to network. Don't waste time networking if dudes don't have what you want. It's the blind leading the blind, and I go to these events and I'm like, yo, did that person just say that shit? What in the hell is that person talking about? Obviously he's never been through this shit and talking out some YouTube video guy that said some bullshit for clicks, and you're trying to apply this shit to real life, wondering what the fuck's going on and why you can't win. Bubba. Get somebody that has what you desire, or 10x, 3x, 5x what you desire. Listen to that man, pay that man whatever, or woman, whatever the hell it is that they want. Because that's how you're going to win. Mentorship, yes. Networking,
and that's why I pay $99 a month. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. You're a little late on the payment, brother. I thought it was the first.
I'm going to cancel my Andrew Tate subscription and get yours, Espo.
There we go. Yeah.
I listen to that man too. I listen to all those guys, man. See, uber successful males at a high level. Are they, do we treat them like guys? Absolutely not. But do they have intelligent shit to say? Absolutely. Motivational shit to say? Absolutely. Can I learn about everything they say? No, not everything. I don't, certain things I don't like about certain people, but I definitely relate to most men winning at a high level because, I understand the struggle that it took to get there, and I understand it wasn't by accident. And for the most part, you didn't inherit it. You can go throughout history and see how many times people have inherited millions and squandered that shit. The Vanderbilts, millions and millions and millions, billions of dollars squandered within 3 generations. So they all got a lot of money. Nothing. They got nothing. They didn't get any ROI on that. So, anyone that's at that level, for the most part, earned it, and there's a lot to learn from them. So, yeah, I definitely am a fan of Andrew Tate as well. But I would definitely accept your money if you want to cancel. I'll go ahead and hey, gentlemen, it's been great. I got to roll. I'm starving. Dinner was called quite some time ago, but I appreciate it, Madman.
Well, thank you for staying on as long as you did. I really do appreciate that. We're going to continue on, but I really appreciate that. Espo is
really nice meeting you guys.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for taking the time tonight.
Yeah.
Hope to see you again sometime soon.
Likewise, gentlemen. Talk to you soon.
Espo is a really good friend of mine and my mentor and somebody that I learn a lot from. And that's why I'm telling you guys, the biggest thing about this in community is great. But if your community is inactive, if your community is not engaged, if your community is not excited about education and furthering themselves, which brings us up to our very next topic and our last topic, and then we're going to open some quick questions, and then we're out of here. Is the biggest thing is self-improvement, self-awareness, and education. You want to always improve on yourself. The biggest thing you can do, and one of on my arm I have Diogenes. Diogenes is a Greek philosopher. That's him holding a lantern. Now Diogenes here, let's see if you guys can see it. So Diogenes, here's him holding a lantern. I also have him holding a camera because I'm a photographer. And then that's my company name. Good luck stuff there. But the reason he held a lantern is he's always in the evening or claiming to be in search of an honest man during the day. So he'd walk around during the day claiming to be in search of an honest man. And he was a great philosopher. He was a troublemaker. He was homeless. He walked around with his dog. Imagine that. He masturbated in the movie theater. He barked at people he didn't like. He also bit their ankles. He was once sold into slavery. He made fun of Alexander the Great. Let's see here. He's a troublemaker. There's a picture of all the Greek philosophers standing on the stairs. Diogenes is laying down. One of the biggest things that I think that Diogenes did great is the belief of cynicism. And cynicism is the belief that materialistic and all the things in the world are great, but that's not what makes you great. Greatness starts from within. So all the things that you could acquire, like a Rolex or like a $100 million home or whatever, that doesn't add to you as a person. Those things don't make the empire. The internals, your brain, your mind, your heart, your soul, your spirit, those are the driving forces behind everything. All that is great. That represents that $100 million home, that Rolex, whatever, right? One time, Alexander the Great came to visit Diogenes, and he was digging in the dumpster, and he was asked to get out. And he responded with, I'm looking for the bones of your father's slaves, but I can't distinguish them from the bones of your father. And kind of dumbfounded by this, Alexander the Great told Diogenes that he could have whatever he wanted, riches, money, gold, whatever. Diogenes asked Alexander the Great to move out of the way because he was blocking the sunlight. And Alexander the Great asked him one more time. He's like, I'm going to leave. This is your last opportunity. And he stared off into the sun. Reportedly, when Alexander the Great walked away, he said, if I was anybody else, I would be Diogenes. And that's because with self-improvement, self-awareness, and education, this is something you're self-manifesting. This is something that you're like internally building, right? Nobody else is working on this but us. So in order to become great, in order to have a vision or a plan and being able to carry that out, you have to have what's in here first, because if not, you'll sit on the sidelines. Sorry, I go on rants when I smoke a lot, so I do apologize. But it's all about the changing of the individual that allows the opportunity. Nothing is by chance. Nothing just happens randomly. We're all put in these positions. Like they say, they believe in luck. And I really think that luck is preparedness meeting opportunity, meaning you just happen to be in the right spot. You just happen to be the right person with the right skill to do whatever it is, and you got picked. You know what I mean? It's an opportunity that you're creating. And when you don't take yourself seriously and you don't invest and you don't, challenge yourself, it's easy to get cynical. It's easy to get angry, and I deal with like anger all the time. I see people online and I'm like, damn, I need to do what they're doing. They're all the way ahead of me. Look at them. Fuck. I'm falling behind. But, you remember this, and this is what I'm trying to remember too, is we're all running our own race. So, Kurt, what about you?
Yeah, I'd say like my views on like self-improvement and education have definitely matured from, when I was kind of at that rock bottom spot. Like I completely kind of gave up. I wouldn't even say gave up, but I just didn't really have a concept of what my future was going to hold. Like things just crashed down so quickly. And you kind of take things day by day. Right. So when I first stumbled upon the self-improvement world, it was really like that raw stuff, that stuff that's a little bit more, I would say less tactical self-improvement stuff, just getting the mentality back to where I was optimistic again and starting to think about what I would want my future to look like. And then once you get some momentum with that, I think it's very important that you move on from that phase and actually start, learning more of the tactical skills, rather than just like the raw stuff, or like, for example, like The Secret, like the law of attraction, right? Like you're not just going to think yourself into success. You actually have to do the work. So that's where the education stuff comes in. And what you were just saying reminds me a lot about The Alchemist. Was one of the first books that, I started reading in that self-improvement phase. And it's about, I really hope I'm quoting this right, but this kid who, leaves his family and tries to go on this big journey, and it ends up that what he was looking for was actually back at home. I've read that a long time ago, so I could be thinking of another book. But anyways, it's just like realizing that you got to put this work in, and nobody's coming to save you and do the work for you and really guide you along. And there's amazingly, there's enough tips around you if you're willing to like pay attention and look for it. So once you get on that path, you start to build momentum. But I think as easy it is to become cynical and start doubting yourself, if you do get some success, it's also easy to become complacent again. So I've had some successes and then stopped doing what got me to that success, habits wise, whether it's reading and taking in new information or whatever it is. And then you kind of get that failure back into you. So it's like success is, it's like you're on a mountain and you're constantly sliding down. So if you're not progressing, you're actually regressing. So those just a couple points that, I've experienced through these topics.
And I think that's one of the things too. We have a question or a comment that says, do you guys ever second guess yourselves a lot? Or are you just like, fuck it, I'm doing this? And for me, yeah, a lot of times where shit hits the fan and I'm just like, whatever, I'm just like, you know what? We're doing it. Fuck it. It doesn't matter. Just go. Just go. What about you guys?
Sometimes I second guess myself. A lot of times, like if I make a really big decision, normally that second guessing happens especially if it's like a financial decision, whether it be like, I'm going to buy a car today, or, I'm going to, sign up for this really expensive, class, college course or whatever. And then I'll start thinking, oh, well, am I going to do it? Am I going to be good enough? And then some of those self-defeating messages sometimes come into my head. But what I find is that I can kind of turn those into motivations, and so I think the second guessing, what that tells me is that me second guessing myself is telling me that whatever I'm in the process of doing has a lot of weight in my life and a lot of value. Um, and I need to take it very seriously, and I need to um, uh, make sure that I can take the steps to make that happen. Um, so, so fear can, so it's almost like a fear motivation. I mean, the last time I bought a car, I was like, oh my God, like, am I going to be able to make these payments? And you know, you know and yeah, I made all the payments and I paid the car off early, and but it's the what ifs. So if you can try to turn some of those what ifs and those second guessings into motivation to kind of motivate you to keep yourself busy, then it can be a good thing. If those what ifs are too loud and they become self-defeating, then you need to really take a step back and figure out what's going on, and how you need to change to make it where you can turn those kind of those self-defeating questions kind of dissipate.
That's where cannabis comes in.
Yes,
Yeah, no,
for sure, for
take
sure.
a long rip and figure it out. I agree.
Yeah.
It certainly can help slow things down and make you look at things in a way different way, which is super beneficial. And when we get into our heads, or at least when not, my head can be a dangerous place to be,
Yes.
by myself for a long time. So, cannabis kind of helps, me get outside of that and look at things through a different lens, which is super beneficial in a lot of cases. So.
Yeah. Reminds me of the Cat Williams bit about getting that fuck it in your system, right? Like, I just remember the hardest times at university when I had a big test coming up, big workload with multiple classes. I would be feeling like, fuck, I might not graduate. Like, I've spent all this time and this money getting to this point, and like just feeling like you're at the end. And then I'd smoke some weed, and it's just like, you know what? If I don't graduate, fuck it, I'll figure it out. Like, I'm not gonna die. Like,
Yeah.
And then you just get this perspective where you can actually start, maneuvering around again, and you're not like, I used to get like paralysis with how stressed I would get. Like, I would have so many things to do that I couldn't do anything, and then you end up wasting time. But then, this plant, I think it takes some habit building to be able to consume and then start doing some of these tasks. But once you start doing that, build those habits, it's super beneficial, and you might as well start working through what you're trying to accomplish rather than being paralyzed with the anxiety.
Well, yes, for sure, and fear and anxiety can be super paralyzing. But I think that's where, like, your journey with cannabis, if you're just like a weekend smoker or once in a while smoker, you'll never get it. If you kind of start to use it on the daily, you can start to see where it starts to affect your life, and how it affects your life in what ways, and you can start to use it as a tool. And I think that that's why this plant is on this earth, is so we can use it as a tool to kind of better ourselves. It does too many amazing things. It can give us energy if we need energy. It can bring us down if we need to go down. It can take away stress and anxiety. I mean, it does so many things, kind of on an emotional or psychological level, that if you use it as a tool, it's pretty effective.
No, I definitely agree. Now, I want to go ahead and we're going to end the panel discussion, but we're not going to end just yet. I want to do a smoke session with the audience. I want to thank, first of all, I want to thank both of you, and I want to thank my friend Espo. You guys are a great testament, and I knew that bringing you guys into this discussion would have a great panel and so many great comments on here. and people are really saying that this would provide a lot of value. And for this being the first Millionaire Mindset panel that I'm going to be having, I plan on having more. I can't thank you guys enough. As cannabis users, as entrepreneurs, as pioneers in your own fields, you guys are really awesome people, and it's an honor and a privilege to sit here with you guys. And I really appreciate the 2 hours and 19 minutes you have spent out of your Sunday with me. It really means a lot. And it means a lot to me, to the audience, that you guys have sat here. I know some people have cycled through. There's been a lot of people, but I really appreciate everybody, because it is about community. And this is what I'm trying to do, is provide real value. So I want to have a smoke session, and this is time for the audience. Ask questions. You got Kurt, you got Master Yoda, you got me. Feel free to fire away with some entrepreneurs. We're going to bring in, I want to say a special thank you to Grownomics here. Grownomics has been the host behind the scenes, doing all the scene switching. He's the new mod for MadManPlant. He himself is a testament to the community with his own story, which we'll be sharing in 2 Wednesdays from now. And he's been repping me on the Arizona coast so hard lately. And I just thank you, dude, for everything that you do for the community, your help behind the scenes. Join us in the smoke session real quick. Guys, join us. Thank you for your comments. Let's see here. Crimson, what's going on? Creative, Flyboy. I want to start shouting out some people because I know I've been talking a lot. I really, really appreciate everybody, and it is just a great thing. If you guys are in the area of Vermont, Illinois, or Baltimore, these are my next stops on the road show, so you'll be able to see them. But yeah, you guys all have something? You guys all have your hands to smoke? Kurt?
1 second. Actually, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to make sure we're all synced up. Dude, I'm telling you, if you what you do is you let it about halfway up to about here with the water, and the rest oxygen is so smooth. Oh shit, I made a mess. This is going to go wrong on this podcast.
It's the beauty of the lives right there.
Honey, don't get mad.
How many times have you done that?
Oh, a lot. It looks fun, but it's also dangerous.
Do you like that better than like a regular bong? Like the gravity bongs?
Personally, if I was going to be smoking, I did this for a show and, to be cool. But personally, I wouldn't do this. I would hit my bong, or my favorite is I had the ceramic tips, which if you haven't started using ceramic tips on your blunts or your joints, you are missing out. It makes it smooth all the way through from the first time you light it to the last time you hit it, and it just changes the experience. And what's cool is it doesn't get hot. It doesn't carry the heat. So when you get to the very end, you're not getting that overly hot bud and going right against the paper, and then you're coughing your ass up because you're actually now burning paper. So yeah, but see your straight growing giggles. What's going on? Southside growing, Corinthian. Cheers, Crimson. You guys ready?
Hell yeah.
Let's go,
Yeah.
bros. So you bring it to right about there. And then you bring it up just a little bit more, get the oxygen in there. So smooth. And it makes it so you can actually taste the flavor. Because my problem is when you do this and it starts to turn yellow, it starts to taste real nasty. And you get that over like smoke taste. Oops.
Yeah, man, that's so bold.
Yeah, I really like that.
Is that like a cut wine bottle in like a vase or something?
I would guess so. Something like that. Like they took 2 parts of a smaller wine bottle, maybe.
just like back in the day.
Yeah.
Man, I do not miss those days of doing that with like a 2-liter pop bottle and a ratchet piece.
Yes.
Aren't you guys happy how far it's come along? Like from days like from that.
I don't know. I kind of miss the Coke can and the little poked holes methods. All those aluminum terps. They're good for the brain.
Yeah, we got real creative. I think we made like a little pipe out of a mason jar once too. It was great.
Does anybody in the audience have any questions before we wrap things up? And just so you know, it's really awesome that David came on and shared his time with us. He's a very busy guy, and all the things he says he's true. All those vehicles, everything he talks about, I personally seen myself. It's just one of those things where you really want to find people in your space, just like you guys in the room right now, who you feel connected to, who you feel are value and provide value. And when you get aligned with those people, it changes your world. The problem is, just like earlier when we talked about, we just play so small-minded. And even me right now, one of the things I'm struggling with currently is I feel like a little person. Like I'm just like so small. Like I'm like everybody else is like this, and I'm like this. But it's kind of weird because it's like I'm on this national tour. We have sponsorships. We have all these things going on, but yet I still want to do more. And I think because I haven't made the impact that I want with people, really touch the people's lives like I wanted. This is just I just started this, and I have to realize that a lot of this, you have to be patient. This takes time. Anything that's worth anything has its place. And one thing I'm learning to do is realize that I'm already there. You know what I mean? And that a lot of people are already there. It's that that song where it goes I didn't know I was lost. So pick me up when it's all over, or something like that. When I'm wiser and dumb. Well, I can't sing.
Oh yeah, it's a beach.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Okay, thank you. I don't want to sing anymore.
I should have let that cook a little bit.
Huh.
Yeah.
So, in the lyrics, because I'm like a lyric head, I read lyrics off the wall, like their secret writing. And one of the biggest things that I learned from this lyric, which I'm talking about right now in life, about feeling small in any way that does feel small, is it said, I tried carrying the weight of the world, but I only had 2 hands. Hope I get the chance to travel the world, but I don't have any plans. Wish I could stay forever this young, not afraid to close my eyes. Life is a game for everyone, and love is the prize. And it says, feeling my way through the darkness, guided by a beating heart. I can't tell you where the journey will end, but I know where to start. They tell me I'm too young to understand. They say I'm caught up in a dream. Well, life will pass me by if I don't open my eyes, and that's fine by me. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where I think, too, and what we've been talking about this entire night is, you have to realize that 1, time is limited, and 2, opportunity is like vast, and it could change your life in ways that you never thought. And half the time, it's all about just showing up. That's staying consistent. Following through. And they, one thing they say about the graveyard is it's the richest place in the world, because there, all the ideas and things that people had in their minds and in their hearts that died with them, that never came to light because somebody said that was stupid, or somebody didn't believe in them, or they didn't have the community to help them do whatever they want. And it's just it's a very selfish thing Okay, so like when I almost died in the car accident, um, when you almost die, there's a couple. It's about more about emotion, right? And when I died or almost died, I was very angry. Because not because I don't like my life, it's just I haven't done what I feel like is great work or impactful work. I'm still building up, right? And one of those things was it's like um, when my grandmother died. Before she died, I had a conversation with her about her funeral and about her dying. And she told me that she was totally fine with it and that it didn't matter if she woke up or not, that God had repaid her in every way and that she was very at peace and very happy, right? And I was like, damn, what a way to go out. And I didn't feel that way when that all went down, right? So now it's my duty and my purpose to myself. So next time I play my little dance with fate, that I feel the way I want to going out. Because if not, what's the point of living, in misery when you can live in pleasure and it's all by opportunity and chance? You know what I mean? Or am I just like crazy?
No, man, that's pretty deep. Like I can relate to the feeling of like it's a hard feeling to describe, but it's just like that realization that you could have had the whole story end right there, and just like from the time you're born to the time that you're proficient enough in life to just accomplish anything, like get your first job or whatever, like it takes so much to build up, so many experiences that you draw on, and just so many things that create who you are as a person.
Yep.
And to not be able to experience the best you can be, and like even if it's taken away from you, man, it's chilling. And like having a near-death experience or an experience where your life could have changed for the worse.
Yeah, and you were speaking about that earlier as well, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm sure Yoda, you playing with deadly reptiles over there.
We do.
I'm sure his life is flashed before his life or eyes for a couple times, but no, it is deep, and that's why I said I'm trying to be the Mr. Rogers / Steve Harvey of cannabis. To open up these conversations and invite these thoughts because they're real, and I think that really helps with the impact is we're not all alone. We're all the same, and it's how we work together. It's how we empower each other. They make us better growers, and it makes us a stronger community,
Absolutely.
Very cool.
Well, this community is a pretty solid community. I'll tell you. It's really the cannabis community as a whole seems to be pretty like helpful, and like we are a team, which is great, and it is nice to see how everyone just kind of wants to help each other, at least in the community of growers and whatnot, and that's something that this plant teaches us, right? Like we can all get along and help each other, right? Maybe that's the biggest lesson that this plant can teach us, right? Is let's just get along and help each other, so.
Yep. Well, I guess we'll do one more smoke session and then we'll get off. Let you guys get back. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to eat myself. Reload this here. Feel free, guys. Any questions that you guys have to any of us on here?
I think we have a question for Bud Trainer on here.
Hey, let's go.
Yeah, I think I saw someone ask if you could make a clear Bud cup. I think
Bud
Crimson
cup.
asked that.
That's a great idea.
We've had that question a few times. Like we're probably gonna lean away from it just because the light's not the best thing for the roots themselves. And like the whole point of the Bud cup's removable bottom is that you can peak your roots if you really if you're ready to transplant or kind of unsure if you're good to transplant. So I'd say probably not. We are considering like other colors in the future, but probably not clear for now.
Hold on.
And they ship out next week for anybody who pre-ordered them. So we're super excited. we did that like Indiegogo campaign all the way back in November. So people who bought then have been waiting like 6 months almost for these things to come out.
Dude, I was hoping somebody would ask me what I'm smoking on. All right. Hope Crimson's in the chat. I'm smoking on the Holy Moly Donut Shop by Dead by Dawn Genetics. And it is
Hell yeah.
fantastic. It's actually hanging up in my bathroom still. It's been there for like almost like 3 weeks now, but the humidity's perfect, so I just left it. And I just been pulling off. Great smell, great profile. You did a great job, dude. That's what I was doing. I mean, you see me hitting rips here, so if it was harsh or bad, I'd be really screwed on this one, because this one I guess I think would be like the real test of how smooth your shit is, because you're doing it all at once, you know. But yeah, no, very impressed. That's why I'm actually very excited to run his news seed pack that he gave me. But definitely check out Dead by Dawn Genetics. What about you guys?
I got a clone of Afghani Kush from a friend, so I'm smoking my own homegrown. It's I like Confidential, and this is one of the parent strains to that. But it's a pretty heavy indica, so I was smoking it a lot last night, and like I woke up at 11 o'clock this morning. So I'm probably gonna hold off on another one right now because I gotta work tomorrow morning.
LA Confidential is a heavy indica for sure. So having that in that cross is heavy.
Yeah, I love that one for sure.
All right, next.
I'm enjoying a little Mango Smile rosin that I pressed a little while ago.
Nice.
All right. Hey, what about you, Gronomics?
I'm smoking on some Mac 1 Miracle Alien cookies.
Got another question in chat. Can you do a clear bud cup and then do a regular cup that's made by you guys to go on the outside of the bud cup? Like where, you know, like some people take the solo cup, so it'd be like a red solo cup, so it's dark, obviously, and then they'd have a clear solo cup, so you can pull up and see the roots and be like, oh, yep, the roots aren't there yet, and then put it back down.
Yeah, I like the reason we designed that removable bottom was so that you could pop the bottom and just check your roots. So like you don't have to do the squeezing of the sides with that double cup method. You still have to squeeze the sides, and that's kind of where some of that transplant shock can come from. So I mean, to answer the question, we're probably not going to do something like that. And I think just part of the design is that it's less stressful to do that pop up and down compared to like that compression to pop it out of the solo cup.
Corinthians 666 says he has Mac 1 in flour, frosty as hell. And he said he can't wait for his bud cups.
Awesome. No, you'll get an email this week. We're super excited to get those out. So.
All right, well, let's do this, and we'll get you guys out of here.
Alrighty.
Oh, and Southside Rowan says, I want bud cups. All right, well, if you want bud cups, go to Bud Trainers on Instagram, hit them up, follow that little link, take you right to their website, and bam. I'm going to need a code if we're going to keep doing this.
Yeah, I think we made one for you, but if not, I'll make one after the show. Give me 24 hours.
MadManPlant.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's do this, and I'll get you guys out of here. Like I said, thank you guys so much again. This was so much fun. I mean, I think we really did something cool here. So.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
This was a really good time. Terrific. Thank you.
All right, here we go, guys.
Oh, that's just frightening to me, Madman. It's just frightening.
If you add oxygen, it doesn't hurt as bad.
I would be coughing up.
Sometimes I'm wondering, like, where did it all go? It's like, do you have any holes? It's like I see it all come out like the back or something. I was like, I got a leak.
Yeah.
Nah, this Lacey got me this for, I think, Father's Day or some type of present. last year. And like David was saying, even though Lacey's not here right now, she is the same way that he is with his wife, like The Rock, my business partner, the other half of me. So there it is. Without her, it would be very hard to do what I do, and trying to do. So I really owe a lot of credit to her, even though that she's not in the chat. So. All right, gentlemen. Well, I will let you go. I'm gonna figure out what's for dinner. This has been awesome. Thank you all for watching. It'll be on YouTube for a recap. I'll be making tons of shorts out of this. Tell everybody, and in one at a time. Not creative. Gronomics, we'll start with you first. Your name, where they can find you, and how we can support you. Go through it. Every person, so you can get everybody's likes. Make sure to follow everybody. Get connected. Share their content. Go ahead.
Sorry, who first?
Gronomics.
I'm sorry. What?
Gronomics. I just took like 5 of these, dude. What's up?
My bad, dude. I was just,
Where can people find you, bro?
Yeah. Your name. How we can find you and support you.
Okay. My name is Mac Brickhandler. I go by Gronomics. You can mainly find me on Instagram at Gronomics with the underscore. I'm also on Facebook as Mac Brickhandler, but I spend most of my time on Instagram.
Very cool. I'm Kurt from Bud Trainer. You can find us at Bud Trainer on YouTube and Instagram, Facebook and X. If you are a grower, check out the Global Grow Cup. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, yeah. So I'm Master Yoda. You can find me at Master Yoda 207 on Instagram, and that's where you can find me. And I am totally want to get involved with the Grow Cup Challenge because that looks like so much fun. I'm terrified, but I looks like a good time.
Very cool. Looking forward to it.
Yep, and you can find me at MadManPlant.com. Sign up for a free membership. And we have exclusive interviews. We're starting our forum with the first topic being pizza, weed, and sex. So my favorite 3 things.
Really? Hey.
And I have a bunch of other topics, but the whole website is going to be fully interactive. And you can join communities. You can create your own accounts, talk to other people. We'll have to have a Bud Trainers page section on there for you guys to help with all the Bud Cups. I definitely want to do the Growth Challenge too. But, the thing is, it's making a difference and it's having the conversation. It's about being open, building that trust. And that's it. And we'll see you guys very, very soon. Peace, yo.
Peace, guys.